4, 5.
Go right ahead, Chris.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and call the meeting to order, at least on the EDC side. We do have all members of the EDC present except for Mr. Dan Diaz. Mr. Ramirez, was the meeting posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act?
Mr. President, yes, it was. It was posted on the 3rd day of January 2020 at 12 p.m.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, I'll open the meeting up for the City Council. This EDC and City Council joint meeting. Today is January 7th, 2020. Time is 5:03. We do have a quorum with Councilman White, Councilman Salinas, myself, and Councilman Garcia. Certification of public notice. Mr. Rios.
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem. The meeting was posted in accordance to the Texas Open Meetings Act on January the 3rd, 2020 at 12 p.m.
Thank you. I guess we'll take the Pledge of Allegiance and the prayer. Ms. Zayas.
Thank you. Will everyone please stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for prayer. Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, your wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us to engage in meaningful discussion and allow us to grow closer as a group and nurture the bonds of our community. Fill us with your grace, Lord, as we make decisions that will affect the residents of Edinburg. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
Amen.
You may be seated.
Do we have any public comments?
Not that I have seen for this meeting, sir.
Okay, so let's go on to item number 4, presentation and reports. Item A, discussion and possible action regarding joint project between the City of Edinburg and the Edinburg Economic Development Corporation. Mr. Hinojosa?
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem, I'm going to ask Ruben to kind of brief us on the joint project that we have currently with the EDC, and then if there's any discussion or action, we'll take it at that point.
So we have a number of joint projects that were issued through the bond. First one being El Tule, the gyms at El Tule. Now, the gyms at El Tule is going to feature 3 full basketball courts, and it's where the old El Tule building used to be, right off of Veterans, or also known as 18th Street. We are progressing with that. We do have, is Milnet?
Yeah, they're here. They're in the back.
They're in the back.
I'd invite Milnet so that they can go ahead. They are the architects on record, so if they can go ahead and speak a little bit more about this.
Good afternoon, council members, mayor. We had met with the city earlier and the EDC to discuss 3 items, and mainly it was with Quintanilla Hadley, who's doing the civil, and one of them involved a clay line that cuts through the property that didn't have an easement or anything, but he discovered it, and it actually feeds off of the one neighborhood and transfers it to the rest of the neighborhood. So our building was first sitting on it. Since then, we've moved it to add parking and avoid it, but we were considering doing an improvement to that line because it is an old clay line and turning it into a cement line and going around the property. The other item was looping the water lines. We have, I think, 2 streets, I'm not sure if it's 2 or 3 streets, that just dead end and the water isn't looped for the continuous flow. So originally Quintanilla Hadley had it looping within our property, which it still will do, but now it will be a city improvement to loop those water lines, which helps us, our building, with the fire and items like that. And then the third item was, of course, the parking lot. The requirements of the city are only 103 parking spaces, but after speaking with the director, Mr. Garza, you've had issues, at other facilities where that wouldn't be sufficient, so we're going a little beyond. And we have an option A to do, I don't remember what the, well, yeah, an option A and an option B. I don't know which is which, but the higher one is 185. And the other one's, I think, 142. So I think at this point, it will really, depending on which parking we choose, it sets where the building's going to be, basically. So that's at the point we're at right now. But those would be the three projects that would involve the joint venture between the city and the EDC.
So what was the budget that was provided to you for this project? What budget was given?
4.4, 4.6.
Is that construction, or is that including AE fees and everything?
That was construction, and that would include the parking lot that the city was going to help with, but at the 103 spaces.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you. What? Say that again. I'm sorry.
That would include the parking lot with 103 spaces instead of the 180 that we're looking at now.
At 4.5?
Yeah, 4.6 would be total.
4.6?
Yeah.
And I didn't hear the part where, is it construction and engineering, or
It's-
just construction?
The way I understand it and the way the contract is, it's just construction.
So it's just construction? Okay. So with all these new discoveries that you found with the line and the easement and all that, how much additional money is going to be required to do the upgrade, to change out the type of pipe? How much is that going to add to the budget?
That one, we haven't done it. We would need to get with Quintanilla Hadley and get you the pricing. He was going to work on that.
So what stage are we in the design?
Design development,
You're DD still?
DD, yeah.
What percentage of DD?
Probably 50%,
50%?
yeah.
Did you bring a schematic of that
Yes.
project with you?
Yeah, we had emailed it to Michael. In case you didn't get a copy, we do have a
Can you-
PDF that we could,
Yeah, I think everybody here would like to see it.
While she's doing that, Mayor and Council and board members, on the looping of the water line and what we need to do with the sewer line, I think that's something that the city can incorporate, and that we can go ahead and do it with either city crews, or we can do it under contract. We have money within our utility budget to take care of. And it not only benefits this project, but it also benefits the residents in the area.
So the city will be able to absorb those costs?
Yes, sir.
Awesome, good job.
okay, so here we just have, it's not the full DD set. We only brought the main features of the DD set, which is just a 3D rendering. We also have the floor plan, exterior elevations, and we also have the two different site plans that we're proposing to the board based on our last meeting with the different department heads. So we're just going to jump into the floor plan real quick. We are showing our 3 full-size courts. They're being subdivided basically by folding partitions. That's basically for acoustics. We were told that is something that the board is real adamant about controlling the noise. And that's critical because you don't want the noise to travel from one court to the other, especially with the referee's whistle. So that could disrupt the games. And we also have portable bleachers. So the advantage of the portable bleachers, it's aluminum, so they're economical, and they're the types that you can tip and roll. So basically you can move them, store them out of the way in case you ever want to open up the whole building for some type of event. And at the entrance, we have a couple of offices. We have a reception area, and we also have a restroom for men and women, as well as some equipment rooms and storage rooms to accommodate all the different types of equipments that need to be stored. And basically, square footage-wise, the building is around 27,300 square feet.
So I have a couple of questions before you start, or before you continue. Have we compared the costs with the folding partitions versus you doing like a CMU all the way up with sand in it to control the noise like you would have in a band hall or something? Have you compared those costs?
Not at the moment. The design intent is to have the flexibility of being able to have the entire building opened up as one area.
So is it for events of some kind, or
Right.
what kind of events?
We're not too sure, but it could serve as a public event, public function, something like that. So it gives the building more flexibility. That's the only reason why we hadn't done something more permanent as far as CMU walls or even metal stud walls
Okay.
as that dividers.
So,
One of the things we were looking at, council member, that we had talked about in one of the open meetings was being able to use this for kind of a multi-facility. Yeah, it's basketball gyms, it's designated for basketball gyms. But we were also looking at having an area that we can have maybe trainings for the employees. We don't have a lot of places where they can go in and train except the activity center. So basically you can do some type of stadium seating, or even, I know we've had a lot of issues. I don't know how big this is compared to some of the dance halls we've rented, but we've been crammed in a lot of the dance halls that we've rented for the Christmas parties, the different events that we've done. So we were kind of trying to get more bang for our buck and not only make it a basketball gymnasium, but having the option of having this thing open. I know that was one of the plans that we had with the original Parks and Rec building, where there was some promises made that we could have events in there where we can have the different employees, different trainings, different festivals that we have, or for that matter. And so that's some of the things we looked at, just FYI.
okay, thank you. So, just so I can understand this, in order to get to the two basketball courts that are on the wings, how do you access those? Is it through the center court going left and going right? You have to go, in other words, you have to go into court number 1, the center court, and then if you're going to go to the right, you go to the right, and go to the left, or?
Right, and the access is through pocket doors on the folding partitions, and we did take into account the traffic flow. That is why there's a 14-foot clearance between the wall and the baseline, because we know people are going to walk into the main court, and they're either going to go to the left or to the right to the other courts. So we wanted to give them sufficient clearance space so they wouldn't be basically walking onto the game court itself.
Right.
So there is a 14 feet clear distance for them to either go left or right.
Right. And I agree with you on the fact that you don't want to disturb the games in between, right? But I've been coaching Little League for 20 years, okay? And one of the things that I find that it's very, very difficult is the egress and ingress for these basketball courts. And when you're practicing or you're playing, you have the people going from one court to the other, or trying to exit the building, that they're going through your courts. And so if you have a game going on, especially with the older kids, once they reach 7th, 8th, even the high school kids, it's hard. It's even with that 14-foot width, it's hard to keep all the public, because if you have 50 or 60, even 100 people on one court leaving all at once, 14 feet is not going to be able to sustain that. And that's why one of the recommendations I had originally was that we were able to access each court separately through the main entrance, so you can get away from having to enter one court to get to the other courts. So was that ever asked to see if we could come up with a floor plan like that?
How you doing? First of all, I want to thank you for considering building the 3 gyms at Tule. Every person I talk to is excited about this. Thank you all for working with this. Real quick, the way it was designed before that, it was only like about 6-foot clearance from the baseline to the wall. And did some studies there, and 14 feet I think is a great distance for people to walk in and out. Plus, we also have exit doors in the back as well. We can funnel people out there and make sure to tell the kids or the parents or the coaches where they're going to play, what's gym, and what's the majority of the people who walk out to the back or to the side gyms, and that way it'll alleviate a lot of that traffic. I believe also 14 feet is even the safety of the kid who does a layup, even it's from the baseline to the basket is another 4 feet. So that's 18 feet of clearance. Even if the kid's going full speed, does a layup, he or she has enough time to stop before they get to that crowd area. So it's a pretty good distance. And that's what I recommended with Milner to extend it a little bit further. And I believe it'll be a good thing. And we didn't want to put any walls. Kind of like, well, we could put walls on there, but it'll be kind of like like confined in one. If it's an open area, people can go, okay, gym 1's this way, gym 2, gym 3, and it was an easy access.
Okay, so I guess my question is, can we entertain the fact, since we're in DDs right now, to at least do a plan that has that type of access, just so we can see how it flows? And I understand, Mr. Garza, what you're saying. I would just like to see options, instead of just one,
Yes, sir.
different access to and out of the buildings, out of the courts, because with more options you get more discussion, you get more ideas,
Yes.
and just versus just saying this is the way it's going to be, and that's it.
Yes.
So
We can also add a couple of doors on the south side entrance as well. That way they can exit through those gyms through those gym doors instead of going to the main exit in the front and the south side.
right.
Because there's no doors there either. Right here. So yeah, right there, and make like a little sidewalk towards the main sidewalk so we can exit as well. That's another way to simplify that.
Yeah,
exit stuff.
because one of the things that I would want to see with these gyms is that it's done efficiently.
Yes.
To where we're not going to have issues with overcrowding or people bumping into each other trying to get from one court to the other.
Right.
Between the games.
It happens all the time.
And it happens
yes,
all the time.
yes.
And so if we can at least come up with different options to see which one's better, and everyone agrees or
Okay.
votes on it, right?
Yes.
I think would lend itself more to discussion and suggestions and stuff of that nature.
Yes, sir.
I mean, that's my opinion. One of the other things is if you're going to use those folding partitions, are they going to be a double door or are they going to be a single standard 3070 door?
We have to look it up. I think they have to be double doors based
Right.
on your exit requirements.
Because of the number of people in there. So, those are the things that I would like to see, and also the number of bathrooms. Do we have sufficient for the total number of occupants if we were to open it up as one big building? Because that will change the number of occupants. So will we have enough bathrooms for everyone?
It's tight. I think currently we have 5 for women because women have a lower ratio per fixture, and 4 for the men. So, yeah, it's enough to accommodate the basketball and the seating areas. And of course, that ties into the parking as well. That's why it was 105, or 103 rather. But if you were to put a lot of people in here, yeah, we would have to set a limit because of the
Right.
plumbing, not the building.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So we would have to accommodate, if that's what this building is going to be used for, we would also have to accommodate enough restroom facilities for the people that are going to occupy it, right? So these are the things that we want to do it efficiently, so after it's all done, we don't say, man, we should have done that. Right. We should have thought of that back when we were designing it. That's what we don't want to happen. right? I mean, you agree with that?
Another thing is, I know if you guys have been to the Viper Gym or the Wellness Center, the clearance is only 4 feet from the baseline to the wall, so that's what you're looking at. It's terrible, but I think this would be great. Another thing is, we looked at the parking space and kind of looked at the numbers we would actually need, and the minimum that we came up was probably like 180, 185, and that's what, because if we go lower than that, there's 6 teams playing at one time. Let's say they play at 6 o'clock. There's 6 teams playing there, and then halftime, 6 of the teams show up. That's already 12 teams, and their parents and grandparents and stuff. They're going to park all over the neighborhoods, and we're going to get a lot of calls, and they're not going to like that. But if we open it up to more parking spaces and make it even just minimum 185, I think that'll be sufficient for right now.
Can't have enough parking, Coach.
Yeah, exactly, yes.
can't
But
have
at
enough
minimum,
parking.
we can make more, it'd probably be better.
And one of the things that I would ask is that you have a lot of storage. Do we
Yes.
have a lot of storage? Do we have storage?
Yes, and I know you see the little rooms right there, and this is just not set, but they were actually like a meeting rooms for the kids, but I think it's a little too small to have like a meeting room, like a guest to go over there and have 10 kids and 2 coaches in that small room. I think that'll just be and I don't want to say waste of space, but I don't think it'd be a space enough space for the team to go in there and strategize. I believe if you can just have one of those storage areas, make those into some storage rooms as well, because we're also going to have volleyball games there. So we need to store also all the volleyball equipment that takes a lot of space. If we can have one of those rooms turn into storage for each gym, I think that'll probably work out a little bit better than having a changing room or a strategy room for the coaches and the kids. It's a little, they're going to need a bigger room than that.
Right.
12 by 10 or something, just to make it enough. And I think that'd take too much space unless you want to pour some more money in it. We'll take it.
Storage is always a good thing to have.
Yes, we have. Yes,
I
sir.
have a question. What was the parking calculation? What parking calculation did you all use?
For the city's development code, when we met,
Okay.
actually, the planning department was there, and they're the ones that came up with that.
Okay, so
So-
you don't have a calculation, one space
it's
for
on the-
every so many square feet? Or seated seats?
Yeah, go ahead. He's going to blow up the formula. It's on the site
Okay.
plan. Yeah, it's one space per 250 square feet. So that came up with 110, but we're asking for the 185.
Do we have a concession area?
Yes.
We do? That will be utilized, like it'll run smoothly in and out? Because we have a lot of concession stands in
Well,
our buildings, and they're never
There's a couple of
being used.
options, and it's not set in stone. One of them was to have the opening for the concession in the entrance of the hallway. Say the gyms are on this side, and the hallway is here, either facing there or facing the gym. There's 14 feet of clearance. Whatever y'all think.
So let me
better.
ask you,
Right now.
Mr. Molina, let me ask you a question. So
4.6.
are you designing because you were given a certain square footage to design within, or are you basing it on budget number, your
Budget-
price?
The budget, we're trying to keep it within the budget.
Okay, so
That's why we're limiting
If
ourselves.
we were, so we wouldn't have to, settle for an inadequate building that eventually we're gonna outgrow or whatever. What size of a building would we need to have? To accommodate everything that we're just talking about right now, what size of a building would we need?
We had grown 4 feet more. We had expanded 4 feet to allow those side entrances rather than do the 14 feet. But then when we did the 14 feet, we were able to reduce those 4 feet. But we do have an option where it's 4 feet bigger. But I don't remember, is the full length of the building is 4 feet bigger, or just the full length of the admin portion of it? So, oh, it was only the admin portion of it that grew. And then the other thing is doing the calcs for the restrooms if you used it as an event center, because that's going to change. Right now, it meets 480 capacity for plumbing. But if you use it in an event center, you might hit, because you can fit close to 700 people with chairs and all that.
Well, what I would suggest to my fellow council members that, that we,
Those are the
if the EDC needs additional funding, that maybe we can help with the additional funding to get this building to where it's efficient, it runs efficiently, the playing area is good, the storage area is good, everything is good for our citizens, because once we build this, it's going to be used a lot, right, Coach?
Yes.
I mean, it's going to be used year-round.
Yes, sir. We're planning to have that an elderly program as well. So during the school time, it'll be utilized by the elderly as well. I have like a little nutrition program, is to bring all that back.
So we need to spend an additional $500,000 just to get it to where we accommodate everything. I mean, I think it's well worth it in the long term.
Oh, yes, definitely, yes.
Mr. Salinas, I have a question from the EDC side. Have you all considered one of the courts being a handicap court for the kids with disabilities? I know that that's becoming a real popular sport, and I don't know if now is the DD time of the development, if you considered that.
Can you repeat? I didn't catch the whole question.
If you guys have considered a handicap court as one of them, one of the three being a handicap court, where kids with disabilities can go up there and have their own tournaments and their own competitions.
We have that available already with the capable kids. They come in once a month at our wellness center, and they come in. We hosted the kickoff. We had a soccer tournament there as well. So I mean, we can use that those spaces for that. They use that. We have their cheerleaders. So they have a dance group as well. They just finished going on Saturday from 11 to 1. They used our dance place there. So. It's open to children with disabilities, adults with disabilities. We can purchase equipment for them as well to place it in there. I know there's portable soccer places, soccer fields, inflatable soccer fields, inflatable basketball courts. There's all kinds of equipment you can do that. If there's money available, we'll definitely make a gym available for that as well. Yes, sir.
Now, this park lot you're looking at, is it bus accessible? Buses can go in and out with no problems?
What
For
was
the
that again?
schools?
Oh, the bus, yes. Yes.
Is this a flooding area, a flooding zone, or no?
Not anymore.
So we don't need retention ponds, right?
No.
No? Okay.
No, we're doing the drainage down.
Because I know my grandma's house was right there
Yes, sir.
and it was always flooded every time. We love playing in that water.
We're fixing it.
Great.
We're fixing it.
Great. Good.
Just really quick, I want to make a statement on this because I know that we had all agreed that we needed the gymnasiums. It was something that was lacking. Our Parks and Rec brought us the necessity for the extra gymnasium, so this is why we're doing this. Also, I do want to add something. We were being really frugal with the project. We had allocated, so basically we borrowed $5.8 million for this project. So we can spend up to $5.8 million. It has to be specifically because of the bond. It has to be something, gymnasiums, it can be a park. So one of the things we were being real frugal about before we start changing things and doing that, and that's up to the people that are here as a consensus, but we had about $4.3 million earmarked to get the project done. So we were looking at having an excess of about $1.5 million, and it's funny, Javier, that you mentioned the fact of the handicapped kids. We've had this thing on the table for a while, a special needs park. So basically what we were looking at previously was having the surplus of the $1.5 million left over from this project to allow us to either go to the Ebony Golf Course and build a special needs park, or turn around and partner up with you guys at the school district and do something over at the LBJ Park like we had talked about previously. So that's why we were being frugal with the project, just so that everybody knows. We were trying to get the surplus and do a second project, just trying to get more bang for our buck and have more, more accessible, so that the kids, whether disabilities or not, that we are able to give everybody a facility. And I'm glad that you brought that up with the gymnasiums as well.
So I have a response to that, because I remember that we had specifically budgeted for a capable kids park separately, and we have $800,000 in the EDC budget that has always been budgeted for equipment. So the saving of the 1.5, it's always good to save money, but not if we're gonna build an inadequate facility that's not gonna be efficient for our players, our staff.
I never heard from the professionals that it was gonna be inadequate. I mean, they're the architects designing it. They've never came
Well,
and said.
they're
"We're
going
gonna
based
put
on
it-"
our parameters.
Yeah, but they're also saying that.
If you tell them that we only have $2 million to build,
Well, of course, you want to be as frugal as you can,
it's
so
like-
that you can get more projects done.
it's like
But it's not a-
it's like the north part.
But it's
When the
not,
north
it's
part
not
came
an
in, it came in
inadequate
over
facility.
budget.
You're using the wrong terminology. In other words, it's not up to Gilbert Enriquez standards.
No, it's not.
Okay, but as far as for the public, the general public, and them using these basketball facilities, it's gonna be a really nice facility either way.
Because I've been in facilities where you go to tournaments and you participate in basketball tournaments or football tournaments or baseball tournaments, and you go to a facility and you can see how it's not efficient. And so when something's not efficient, you have to accommodate for it in other means, which means you're going to expend more dollars, more revenue doing the things that we should have done at the beginning to plan for it. That's all I'm saying, is if you plan for it right, correctly, the way it's going to be utilized, then in the long term, it's going to help you. It'll save you more money. You spend the dollars now versus spending the dollars 10 years from now, because you're having to modify it or adjust to it. That's all I'm saying. It's about efficiency.
Right, I understand what you're saying, but on the other point, we were looking at making something that could accommodate everybody and at the same time turn around and build other parks. I mean, so basically you can take this 5.8 million, spent 4.3, turn around and have 1.5 and build 2 other parks, or grab that and make the other facility that I talked about, the special needs park, even bigger. So even with more equipment, that's what I was looking at.
Well, all I can tell you is when I was on the EDC, we had specifically earmarked money of $800,000 for the equipment. Plus, when we went out for the CO to get a bond for the rest, we specifically had earmarked money for the Capable Kids Park. So where that money is now, that's the key. Where is that money?
Well, you've been on the EDC for the past month. I mean, have you looked at it?
And you were on it for a year. So
I wasn't on, you were on there longer than me, but anyways.
The bond money is in the account, so all of it is still accounted for. We haven't transferred any of that money yet.
So Mr. Ramirez, so when you came on board, you saw that the money was there in your account. So there was a stipulation when it was sold, what the monies were going to be used for and how it was allocated. So can you provide that information to us?
I'd be happy to.
Okay, do you have it with you?
So I don't have it with me, but I'll definitely get that to you guys as soon as possible. But I do know that it was pretty general as far as according to our attorney, as far as language in the bond, so that we could use it for park project of the site. But I'll get that to you.
Okay, great, appreciate that. So going back to the design, I would, and this is just me, I don't speak for anyone else, I would like to see other options of how the flow of the players and the parents versus this option, just so we can see the difference and what would work better for Edinburg.
Definitely. Yeah, we started one, but we need to refine it a little bit more because it was a little awkward. And I think that's why we simplified it to this, but we can go to the separate entrances for each court from within the lobby area. So.
Okay.
That, too, and you're talking about here your possible lack of.
Yes, we.
It's hard when apparently we have more money that was.
Yeah.
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 Do we need to make more room now, or
We.
something off of it, you might think?
Yeah.
You know, like,
Yes, sir.
or look a lot.
And then you fill it up.
That's,
The question I have, what are the parking spaces? What's it gonna cost us to go from what we originally were,
Yeah.
cost associated with?
Yeah, we don't have that cost right now, sorry. We didn't. No, the 180 puts a little bit over, yeah. But it would be the 80 spaces more.
You're probably looking at an additional 250 to 300.
Yeah, 200, that's what I, yeah.
250 to 300.
Yeah.
Right, but if we have the money for it, I mean.
Yeah, I mean, I agree.
I'm all
I mean,
about safety. I mean, one of the issues that we have, and it goes for other, developments here in the city, is that there's just not enough parking spaces. Okay, and let me ask you this, are there any other parking areas around this location that they could use?
It's all off-street. It's
All off-street parking?
Yes, correct.
And just to clarify, gentlemen, the parking, as it was voted on, was we were going to be doing it in-house, curb, gutter, the whole 9 yards.
I'd like to see also, Mr. Milne, Rudy, that consider that handicap basketball court.
Yeah.
And I know that it might increase the budget by a little bit, Mr. Salinas, because we need to have them portable, so they can go up and down, because we want to
Yeah.
make sure that the kids are successful.
Yeah, I think the idea would be to make one of them adaptable, too.
Yes.
So it remains fully functioning for a regular and then for adaptable for the other.
And I think this is a great idea from the city to have these courts, and I know that, you all are talking about multi-purpose facility too for staff development and for staff. And hearing that was you might have to expand the restroom facilities, the office space in the front, just to accommodate when you have those big functions there, because you don't want to build something so pretty then have everybody complain that we can't even use them properly.
And even on that, if you plan on using this for other things than basketball, just to speak, I guess, for our working staff, they'd probably love a roller door about 6 or 8 feet wide to move all these extra chairs and everything else are going to be coming in. I know myself as, on the labor side of it. Is that what's down here? Is that what that is?
That's correct.
Okay.
Oh, the roll-up door, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a,
Is that little blue?
That was that rolling door so we can get.
Yeah.
so you can get equipment in.
Coach, what provisions do we have in the budget for equipment? Do we have any? Was this just solely construction, not equipment?
Solely construction.
Just construction, yes, sir.
And how are we gonna, where were we gonna get the funding to actually have the equipment?
what equipment?
Like,
Your,
Volleyball,
the basketball and volleyballs? Oh, that'd probably be in your budget. Wouldn't
Right.
that be in your budget?
We're gonna incorporate that in our regular budget, or?
yes,
is that
yes,
what's the
sir.
plan? Okay.
Yes, sir. And we can increase it later. Anytime you want. I don't know. Yes, sir.
What,
I think we need some back sensors in the back doors. to let us know when we-
Well,
Can you zoom in on that?
that's why, that's why we,
I believe
no,
Milnet-
there was,
Yeah, I believe Milnet was already incorporating, I don't know if
We
it's
had
this
We-
version,
two in the
but
center.
you guys were incorporating one, correct?
we had two more, but since they were kind of small, not, if you give us more space, we can make them, get them back or so. But we were gonna eliminate the meeting rooms.
What I'm saying is, this is the time, if you need more space, this is
Yeah, originally, each court was like this one. You
Yes.
have one on each side.
Yes, each court had two, one for team one and team two. Yes, sir, yeah. Oh, you can see that right there. Yeah, this is for like, for the middle court is team one and team two, but they were kind of small. They were kind of like 8 by 8 or something, or 8, they're too small to have 10 kids and 2 coaches in there. So I said, well, maybe we could just make them into storage room. And,
looking over here on this.
yes, sir, yeah.
So-
But now if we can expand it and make them larger, I mean,
so one of the other things that I see now that it's blown up, over here in the administration part, you have the concession stand.
yes,
So the concession stand, you're gonna have people waiting in lines, 2 or 3 lines, and that line, where's it gonna back up to? Because if it goes toward the front doors, then the people that are coming in and coming out,
yes,
I mean, it's gonna be congested in that area.
yeah.
So these are the things that I'm telling you that we need to make sure that we run it efficiently, because it doesn't make sense to spend all this money and then we don't use that concession stand.
Yes.
It's gonna become storage. And then I've seen where they'll do their own makeup concession stand in a corner, you know, because they can't utilize the one that's there. So
Right.
these are the things that I think we need to look into and really do this right, you know, where it's efficient.
Okay.
I have one more question, Mr. Salinas. Sir. On the back doors, Mr. Molina, are y'all gonna have access controls? I know kids are kids, you got your little 4 or 5-year-olds playing there, they tend to wander off, so.
Yes.
Are we gonna have normal doors or access controls where they have to have that badge, the coach, or just to make sure that the kids can't leave without some type of control in the back?
We have to look in, right now we just have the typical panic device. So if the kid's tall enough, he'll be able to get out. So we would have to look into that.
I'm just saying consider that, because kids are kids and they can wander off with nobody even noticing. And with an access control door, they can't even open it with that magnet unless their coach or an adult is there with them.
Well, typically, those are supposed to be emergency, right?
Right, those are
doors.
emergency.
So they only should be open during emergency, but if we have them as a egress out, then they're gonna have to have special type of.
Right, to release it.
Yeah, releases and stuff, so.
Yeah.
That's why I'm saying we really gotta see how we're gonna work
How are you
this out.
gonna use it?
Yeah.
You ever thought about just putting the egress up here at the front? Put these doors as alarms. Of course, leading to the front, because in my life anyway, you drop off the kids, you drop off the next one. You have the back, they can fall in the back of the house.
I think it's similar to Mr. Salinas' comment. Yeah, so they don't all go out through those doors unless you release it. Yeah.
Anything else?
Thank you, gentlemen, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Do you have any other projects?
Yes, so the other project that we have is the North Park project, which is a wonderful, beautiful park, and we have SDI Engineering. Speaking project update.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, EDC Board of Directors. Isael Posadas with SDI Engineering. I've got a quick PowerPoint on the North Park status. So the North Park is the park we're working on off of Rogers and Expressway on the southwest corner in front of the Boys and Girls Club, located right here. In the aerial is depicted in red. This is an aerial photograph today showing where they are, which is essentially, and I'll tell you in just a little bit all the particulars, but the parking lot is about 95%. They just need the striping and some sidewalk. The building, or the concessions and the restrooms are, as you can see from the picture here, probably missing about 2 courses and then the roof, and of course all the interior. The pads, if you'll notice, along this area here, this is where the playscape and the shelters or the barbecue areas, the benches are going to be located. Just to kind of recap, the original design included everything you see here, which is a softball field, a football field, playscape, basketball court, concessions, restroom, and in the future it was going to be a splash pad and also a fitness court. What we did in the last meeting in December, I believe in November, end of November, early December, made some adjustments so that we could, I guess, make better use of the park, or per the direction of the board, remove the softball fields to bring within budget and create a dog park. So that essentially removed the softball field. And as you see here, this is the latest design. Still, we have the football field, the practice football field, and all the other amenities, the basketball, the playscape. The change order was a net deduct of $81,000, which brought us to within budget. This is a sample of the dog park, the areas, the things that we would do in there, of course, some cleanup stations for the dogs, and also some benches and some watering stations. I believe we have 2 watering stations, 3 benches, and some gates and accesses. This is just an example of the playscape. We're still in the process of looking at options as far as color schemes, but it is within the budget to include. As far as budget and timing, the original negotiated contract was $1.4 million. We took out the $81,000. The total $1,333,952.69 was our final negotiated contract. So far, we've paid $282,000. We issued notice of proceed in October, and we're looking at completion July 21st. Although, by contract, I think it's August 4th. The contractor believes that he'll be done before, and actually well before the July 21st deadline that he put for himself. The other thing we did after bringing it to within budget, the board authorized us to look at the Phase 2, which is a splash pad. We were only in the original design going to have this contractor build all the subsurface improvements, including the electrical conduit and all the plumbing, so that in the future, if we included a splash park, we wouldn't have to tear it all up. The board and so a splash pad similar to the one that's being built at Bicentennial Park. The estimate for the Phase 2 and the authorization by the board was $390,000. That was, and that's currently under design. We just actually received a couple of options from the vendor on the theme of the park, or the theme of the station. This one is a sports theme, which I believe is what's going on at Bicentennial Park. We've got 2 options that we've turned in to review with the executive director and the board. So that's the status of the what's going on at the North Park. Any questions on that one? We've got 2. We've got another one which includes the Bicentennial Park and what we did with the lighting.
One of the things that I would like to say is that this park is right next to Will Looney Park, where it's right behind the Boys and Girls Club. I believe it has a basketball court, it has tennis courts, it has a soccer field, and it has a field with a track. One of the things that I would like to see, and it was actually part of our master plan for the parks, that we should upgrade our existing parks and really turn this area into like for flag football for the kids. We currently use right now Norma Linda and this field over here at the Boys and Girls Club. And with this practice field that is being built, I think if we were to modify the existing 2 fields that we have currently at Will Looney Park, we can really be more efficient with our program, our flag football program for our kids, and really have parents only go to one location, because the parents that are out there listening that have kids that are in different age groups in sports, you have to go to drop one child off to one area and then go across town and drop your kid off to the other area, and then you're stuck. Which child am I going to see? So I would like to see an area where all the parents can go and see their kids next to each other at the same park, and be able to go to one location. I think that this would be a perfect opportunity for us to renovate the existing park at Will Looney to accommodate some of that. Because is Coach still here? Coach Garza? Our program for the flag football really increased this year, correct? This past year? We had a lot of teams this past year?
Yes, sir. All our programs have been increasing dramatically. So more fields, more gyms would be great for our citizens and community.
And then we're also, I heard we're starting an adult flag football league that's going to be playing at Norma Linda.
The first time Edinburgh's done that, yes, we have 13 teams, adult football teams. So we started, they're going to play at NLT, yes, sir.
Right. So these are the things that I would like to at least discuss in another setting to see if we can really modify that Will Looney Park. Just my suggestion.
Either way, you gotta do something with Looney Park, because the last time my kids, it rained, it flooded, and the grass is, when we were doing tackle football, I think we played the games up there, and then we had some, it looks like it is in this picture.
Yeah, it's because IDEA uses it.
Yes, sir.
And they don't take care of it.
One of the things just my recommendation, we need to put a crown on it. And we need to put some drainage also, maybe to the bottom and there's like a little canal towards the south side. Maybe the drain can go that way because it's a beautiful field. We have a track field on it. We have lights. Maybe later on in the future, fix up the concession stand as well. It's neglected. I know. We have an amphitheater also. We can fix it up and turn the lights on every night, maybe so the people can come in and walk the track and exercise and stuff. It's a beautiful place. Need some work on it, but that'll be a start. Maybe put a crown on it. But once we put a crown on it and fix it, we might have to fence it.
That's fine. We can do that.
So yeah, yes, sir.
Do you have
Okay.
any more property out there, Coach? Besides, you want to go back to that other picture where you showed where it's at? The property to the west, like everything that we have there where that football field is,
Yes.
is that all the city owns out there, or the EDC or anybody?
Where
That
we
empty
at?
field to the left, right?
No, this.
Right there?
I believe that's private property.
That's private property. Yes, sir.
So that's our boundary.
That's our
We've utilized
boundaries.
everything.
But
It's 15 acres.
we can also put some. Well, I'm just thinking ahead. But some parking area. Here we can put some parking area right there as well. All that area there, because once we do start utilizing it more, and even on that side over here, right here, I know the Boys and Girls Club owns this part. They were going to build a teen center, I believe. To me, that's a great place to maybe swap them with something. I don't know how but develop that as well. This area here is prime location to add to these existing park. This park here and also for the new North Star Park would be awesome as well.
And really, this is, Coach Garza, this is the farthest north park that we have, correct?
Yes.
This is the only park we have in that area.
That's all we have, yes, sir.
So for us to really modify the existing, renovate the existing park, and then with this new park, I think that would help out that area, especially with the growth that's going on north of Edinburg.
That'll be great. Yes, sir.
I think that would serve us well in the next 10 years if we do it right.
The school utilizes this park too, right? Back schools there?
Yes, my understanding, I wasn't there when the contract was done, but my understanding is they have access to the Boys and Girls Club, but they utilize that as well. It's there, so they go over there and it's being used like a play area, like a little hangout, so they just hang out there and tear up the field, like you said. The fields are terrible,
See
yes.
the football field right here is.
Yeah, it's terrible, but if we can fence it and put a crown on it and make it real nice and play our football games there, they have lights and everything there. We have bleachers as
You're talking
well.
on the track park. We used to play over here on the north.
On the north side, Looney?
Yeah.
That one as well.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, we need to
never
fix.
played. We never got to the good part.
Oh, that was a flag football.
And the other question I have, and it's probably not really for you guys, is, and then people had asked me about this park especially when I was running and all that, is why do we have a park in, obviously area that should be in probably industrial or commercial, and the property value of that type of park was the question I had been asked many times, and I don't have an answer for it. It seems to me like should be, if it's not now, it should be high dollar real estate as we develop and we continue to grow north. It's probably not a question you can ask, it's probably got to come from over here.
Well, the only issue, I will tell you, this property is a 6-acre tract. I believe it's a 6-acre tract, and we're only able to utilize about half of it. And the reason for that, it's encumbered by a 150-foot wide easement, a very restrictive easement along the front, and that's those large power lines by ETT. So even for us, it was a challenge to even place what we've placed here. We tried softball field, baseball field, but according to the restrictions, the only thing we could do was place grass over it. Matter of fact, in order for us to even put the sprinkler system, because this is sprinklered, to have equipment within this area, we had to get permission to do that, and even the walking trails in the parking lot. Okay. Now, we've also been told, hey, well, the PAWS did it on their side, which is just south of here. Well, when they negotiated their terms of their easement, that was allowed, or they negotiated those terms. There weren't any terms like that negotiated for this one. So we were really at their mercy to restrict or use this land for just what it is right here. They won't even let us put goalposts or even soccer goalposts within the area.
So when you say it was negotiated, wasn't this property subdivided all at the same time? This was subdivided by one individual when they built the Boys and Girls Club. So wasn't this all subdivided at the same time?
Yes, sir. Good evening. Tom Reyna, Assistant City Manager. Yes, sir. You are correct, Mr. Rodriguez. This was subdivided all at once, but the easements came in afterwards. The easements were negotiated, and that's how they were placed as the line. The ETT did pay for those easements on there, so the EDC was issued a check for those easements. So that was what was negotiated at the time. We basically didn't have a negotiating tool to move those easements, so that's the way it came. But unfortunately, it was after.
But you're saying the other developer or whoever bought the property lower,
was already there in place. Yes, sir.
It was already in place, or they were able to
correct,
to
sir.
negotiate
So
it better
that's
than
part
we
of the
did?
negotiation. So as for the city part, that's how I did on some of those negotiations. On this is what we're using this property for. We need this under. So when they approached the EDC, I'm not too sure who negotiated that at that time, since that was EDC property.
All right, that'll answer a lot of people's questions.
Mr. Posada's
Guys,
question.
we're gonna have to adjourn the meeting. We have a city council meeting at 6. Is everybody all right with coming back at 5 o'clock next Tuesday to finish this? Is that a good time?
Wednesday works for me.
Wednesday of next week?
Wednesday works better for me.
Okay, Wednesday of next week? Sure. Is everybody good with that? Okay, so we'll schedule that meeting if you can post it, city manager and Ruben. And at this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn from the city council side.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. That meeting is adjourned.
On the EDC side, go ahead and entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Those opposed, same sign. The motion carries. Meeting adjourned 6 p.m.
Thank you all for joining us.
Land of the free and the home of the We want to welcome Father Richard from Sacred Heart Church to lead us in prayer tonight. Father Richard.
We offer this prayer, Lord, as a form of Christmas prayer, because Christmas is associated with peace. It is your ultimate gift of peace. And so I offer this prayer, which is a modification of the prayer of St. Francis of Assisi. O Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me correct with sincere love. Where there is injury, let me heal with your power. Where there is doubt, let me share fervent faith. Where there is discord, let me sow communion. Where there is despair, let me affirm your promises. Where there is darkness, let me seek and then reflect your light. Where there is ignorance, let me humbly teach your wisdom. And where there is sadness, let me praise you with heavenly joy. O divine Master, grant that I may seek not to be consoled, but to console, not to be understood, but to understand, not to be loved so much, but more to love. For it is giving that we receive, in pardoning that we are pardoned, and in dying that we are born to eternal life. Amen. Amen. Amen.
Thank you so much, Father Richard. You may be seated.
Okay, up next we have the certification of public notice. Mr. Rios, was the meeting posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act?
Yes, Mayor, the meeting was posted on January 3rd, 2020 at 4:30 p.m.
Okay, thank you very much. Couple of announcements to share with you tonight. If you're ready to take your Christmas trees down, remember the City of Edinburg has a tree recycling effort going on right now. You can drop off your Christmas trees at the Edinburg Recycling Center on Business 281, the Edinburg Landfill on Jasmine, or at the Edinburg Service Center on South Doolittle. We'll have Tom Reyna and Ramiro Gomez will be there standing by for your Christmas trees. Thank you, guys. You can also place your trees curbside on your designated trash day to be picked up. Please remember, trees have to be completely bare. So that means no ornaments, garland, flocking, any stands. If you have any questions, just call our sanitation or landfill office. Also, our pilot program with the Blue Duck scooters is underway. I'm sure you've seen the blue motorized scooters placed across some of the busier areas of town. We had some great feedback already, but I do want to remind everybody, this is just a pilot program. We're going to collect data and then determine if it's something that we want in Edinburg long term. You can also remember to download the app to find out more about the program and maybe take a ride for yourself. I encourage everyone to use helmets, and you could get one for free from Blue Duck. As always, you can check our websites and social media for the latest information about what is happening here in Edinburg. We do have our public comments coming up next. So I do want to, I think we have people that are speaking on specific items, but I'll go ahead and take those comments up front and then we'll document as we go along. One of the things we have Manuel Anaya, who's here in reference to a rezoning concern on the corner of Monmac and Freddy Gonzalez. Mr. Anaya can approach the podium at this time.
That was the last one on the agenda, so I got caught by surprise a little bit. I have some exhibits here that I would like to share with you guys, if I can. I don't have...
We'll share. We'll share, right? This is the last. We can share. That's good. Thank you, sir.
Okay, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming in today and hearing us out. My name is Manuel Anaya, and I'm no public speech person by any means, so here we go. I'm here to represent my neighbors that are here in this meeting, which includes the Habor family, the Fernandez family, the Miller family, and the Anaya family, which is my family, and there's some other families that could not attend due to their schedule. And I hope that you take my words not only for the benefit of us, but for the long-term benefit of the city as well. Right now, our concern is about the rezoning of that corner on Freddie and Monmac. As you can see, there's already traffic issues. That's because that lot is vacant. And there's a lot of congestions. There's a lot of infrastructure that needs to go there before anything goes to that place. But our other concern is we have a master plan development of what we plan to do with our properties, which are to the south of that said property. And we're planning to do multifamily and of a pretty good sized lots. And our concern is that we want those lots to kind of retain their a certain value, right? That's one of the reasons that we bought there to develop it to a certain value. And our concern is not that it's a single family. We're okay with a single family. Our concern is the multifamily part of it. Because once it's rezoned multifamily, we know that even apartments could go there, or a duplex or triplex, or even a fourplex can go in there. And right now, by me showing you the exhibit, that is something that I had proposed for, I guess, a proposed owner to do, because I believe that that'll help the city even on the long term when it comes to infrastructure, when it comes to revenue, when it comes to even servicing our neighborhood, than having to do a multi-family zoning in that area. If you have any questions.
Just, you're for or against the project?
We're against.
Okay, you're against it. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Naya.
Yes.
Next, we have Rene Barrera.
Good evening, Commissioners. Rene Barrera representing Lashanti Enterprises regarding the same item for the rezoning. I thought we were going to do this during public hearing, but I'll go ahead and state, our case.
Well, the thing is, now by law, since they're public comments,
I see.
I got to cover that first.
Okay, you got it.
Yeah.
The owner here had turned in some copies of the proposed development, what he proposes to do during the subdivision phase. I don't know if you received those or not. Yeah. Okay. So under the code, what's required, we met with city staff. We applied for auto urban zoning. The intention for this project is single-family residential lots, not multifamily. Single-family residential lots, just to clarify, that's what the intent of the future subdivision to come after the rezoning. And what Mr. Maheshwari here is proposing is 27 lots, 3-bedroom, 2-bath homes with a 2-car garage. And if I don't know if you see that, this is a similar facade that what he has done in other subdivisions, the Midland subdivision, which is just down the street, Newcastle, which is on Sprague, just a little further north. And the intention is to continue with the same type of development with single-family homes, not multifamily. I just wanted to clarify that for the record.
Thank you, sir.
Anything else? Okay. Thank you.
Up next, we have Larry Rose.
Thank you very much. I don't know what your procedures are, so if I stumble around, forgive me. I'm one of the residents that lives off of Monmac on Kiskadee Trail, which is directly south of where this corner intersection is. About 8, 9, 10 times a day, I drive to that intersection on Monmac and Freddie.
along with my wife as well, who does the same thing, as do other people in our neighborhood. The main issue that we have is we think that this whole project needs to be revisited. We can't imagine why anybody would plan an exit onto Monmac Road. If you stop and think about it, and if you walk the area, you're going to be exiting onto Monmac Road going north, because there's no reason to go south because it's a dead end. And that's going to put 60, 70 vehicles 2-3 times a day trying to get within an intersection that is already a very dangerous intersection. We've already asked the city to put up a stoplight. We didn't get anywhere on that. So our concern is that we just think everybody needs to call timeout and really revisit what's happening here, simply because it's a danger, it's a hazard, it's already a hazard. And when you put that many more vehicles entering into an entry that can only go to the left because there's no reason to go to the right, and you're 100 feet from the intersection already, you can just imagine what's going to happen. You're just going to have sheer chaos of vehicles. And that's going to happen day after day after day. And it's just a problem. And I just think it needs to be reconsidered as to what the program is, as to how you're going to control, if nothing else, just traffic, just pure logic. That's why I'm here.
Thank
So
you, Mr.
naturally,
Rose.
I'm against what I see at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Rose.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, up next we have Casa of Hidalgo County, Ms. Veronica Whitaker.
Thank you all very much for hosting and having me here this evening. Mine is simple. I don't need anything to be amended. I am the director of CASA, Court-Appointed Special Advocates, and we take care of abused, neglected, and foster children. We are having our 9th annual 5K Superhero on February 29th at Doolittle Park. And all I'm asking today is if we dismiss the fee for our nonprofit. That's it. It's easy.
Thank you, Commissioner.
All righty, and I hope to see if anybody is interested in running the 5K. I challenge everyone to join us, and just call CASA, and I'd love to see all of you there. Appreciate it. Thanks. Happy New Year, guys. Thank you.
Happy New Year. Okay, we have Angelina Karpinski. Is that right, Ms. Karpinski? All right.
Good evening, and thank you for having me here. I'm the principal from St. Joseph Catholic School. What I would request also, we as the Catholic School have a walkathon every year. We used the municipal park last year, and we thank you because it was a great event. We had 275 people joining us for the walk. This year we're asking also, and if the fee could be eliminated for us at the school. So that's our request. Any questions?
It's under St. Matthew's?
No,
St.
St.
Joseph?
Joseph Catholic School. It's
That's not a typo, is it? Oh, you guys are here to say, okay, I'm sorry. Okay, ma'am.
January the 31st, and we would use it from 7 o'clock to 2 in the afternoon.
Can we put that on the next agenda? Yes, we should.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. Okay, up next we have Heriberto Anaya.
Good evening, Mayor, Councilman. I have a couple of comments on regards to the Owasso Road. I'm a property owner there. We were annexed here back in 15, and we were promised all the infrastructure that goes with annexation. We have not received anything as far as the services that we're supposed to have gotten, and now that we have a 5-lane Owasso Road, I've noticed that the city of Edinburg is not really I don't know where the boundaries are for the city of FAR and Edinburg as far as that area. But I'd like for somebody to kind of reach out to me as one of the owners to let us know about when we're going to be receiving some of the stuff that the city is going to provide. I've spoken to a couple of your city people, but it seems like they're not there no more. And yet I'm still waiting. I reached out to Mr. Enriquez one time, and we visited at his place, and I voiced those concerns also. And here recently, I have an office building there, and I just acquired Vanguard Academy as our administration building there, and I'm really excited about it, and I'm hoping the city's going to be the same. And I'd like to be able to offer them an opportunity maybe to grow in that area. I don't know yet. I don't know what their plans are, but hey, I'd like to see if we can keep them here. I know they're already here, but I'd like them in that area too. Also, another note, I moved recently to Owasso here about a year ago, to Wisconsin. And man, the traffic is deadly there on intersection McCall and Jackson, and there's a constant accidents there. I've seen the traffic lights are already put up, but they've just been there, and I'd like to know when they're going to put them in service. I'm sorry. Other than that, I appreciate all that you guys have been doing, and hopefully we can continue that Owasso area grow. I hope and I'll get somebody to kind of visit with me in regards to that.
Mr. Anaya, the city manager will meet with you. And also, I just want to let you know, today the lights went up.
Oh, really?
Yes, today.
Man, well, I hope that's a
I know
positive,
that took
man.
a while. There was a, just to let you know, I had written a letter to the state too. That material came from TxDOT. It was on back order, so just let you know.
No, it's constant. Every time I go out there, I can see both intersections from my house, and man, it is just like, wow, another one, and it's constant. I'm glad. Thank you. Please get me somebody to visit with me in regards to Owasso now.
Okay.
Hey, thanks again. You're doing a great job. God bless.
Thank you.
The lights are flashing right now, but they will go into complete service within a week.
Good to go. Okay. Up next, we have Vern McClarity.
Yes, that light there at Wisconsin, there's been a lot of wrecks there, so over the years, so I am thankful that you've got that one up. Thank you. Gentlemen, my comments today will be concerning the overspending of our county commissioners. The obvious comment is if you're concerned about the county, go talk to them. I already have. My point is that as a taxpayer, I cannot select which property taxes to pay. I must pay all the property taxes that this council and all the taxing entities impose on my taxes and the people of Hidalgo County. So what I am here to say is do not impose any more taxes on the people because a significant number of people simply cannot pay. My request is that this council pass an ordinance stating that it will not sell bonds or in any way increase the public debt without a vote to the people. The people of Edinburg have now voted to support 2 new members to this council, and I'm glad you're here. I'm thankful that you're here. I believe that it is because they did not agree with the expenditures of the public money to support any group of candidates or the process used to financially support private individuals in this community. If it is necessary to discuss deals in executive session, then it is probably not in the best interest of the public. Hidalgo County has now sold $360 million in bonds, and they are in the process of purchasing other properties that will increase the public debt. There are properties that are right across the street from the courthouse, just to the south, Plains Capital Bank there. They're looking to buy all those buildings, and Plains Capital buildings that are over on McCall Road. And if you look at what those buildings pay in taxes, because it is a company, but they're paying taxes, we're going to lose $160,000 on just those properties if the county purchases them? And where is this money going to be picked up between the county, the cities, the school district? Is from the taxpayers. So you're going to look for, because heaven forbid y'all were to lower your spending at the time that they're going and wasting our money. The new county judge has identified reducing poverty as a high priority. So how is increasing taxes on a population with a poverty rate of 40% going to reduce poverty? It is only going to benefit the rich. How are the people who are paying for these buildings and all the new employees going to benefit? For the next 30 years, people in poverty are going to be paying for facilities and services that they will never use. So pass the ordinance and support the people who voted and put you into office. When y'all are looking at expenses and things that you're doing, it's so easy to buy another piece of property or buy this or whatever. Think about the taxpayers, the people that put you in those chairs up there. They need you to look at it and say, do we have to have it? There's a lot of things that we want, but what do we need? Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, we have Lori Cantu. Also, there's Celeste Huff and Don.
Hi, good evening, Councilman. My name is Lori Cantu, and I am the principal of St. Matthew's Episcopal School, and I thank you for your service to our city. Thank you very much.
Hi, good evening. Thank you, Mayor, Councilman. Thank you so much. I'm Celeste Huff. I'm here to represent St. Matthew's, and I have
Dawn Goldhammer, school board member for St. Matthew's.
Thank you. We are hoping to host our first ever annual, well, it wouldn't be an annual yet, but our first ever 5K for St. Matthew's. We are also joining with the Ronald McDonald House as well, and we are coordinating with Endurance Splits. We're asking you to consider a temporary permit for this event and also a waiver of fees.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Is that it for public comments, Richard? Yes. Is that everybody? Okay. If that's everybody, I'm going to fast forward to the people that are asking that we help them out with the community events. We have ordinances. So we have, for Ms. Whitaker, we're going to cover ordinances A. That's 10A. Council, follow along with me back at home or online. We're going to go to consider an ordinance providing for a temporary special use permit and request for a waiver of fees for the special events on Casa Hidalgo County Superhero 5K Run to be held February 29, 2020 at the Edinburg Municipal Park. I will entertain a motion on this item.
Motion for approval.
We have a motion to approve and a second. Any discussion? If not, I will call for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Up next, I'm going to cover St. Matthew's. B, consider an ordinance providing for a temporary special use permit and a request for the waiver of fees for a special event, St. Matthew's School 5K 1 mile fun run that's going to be held February 29, 2020 at the Municipal Park. I'll entertain a motion on this item.
Motion for approval.
We have a motion to approve and a second. Any discussion?
Mayor, I'm sorry. I apologize for interrupting. Jesus Sanchez, Director of Planning and Zoning. I just want to make a correction. The St. Matthew's Episcopal School event will not be held at Municipal Park. It's actually going to be an inter-city race along several city streets and one state road. We are working with them. It is going to be a race within the city itself and not the park.
Okay, for the record, Counselor, that's going to be on record that the correction is made on the location?
We should probably amend the motion, just to make it clear.
Okay.
Amend the motion then.
Motion amended?
The cleanest way is for the person who made the motion just to withdraw it.
Okay, I'll withdraw then.
Okay. And then we can make a new motion.
Okay, you can make a new motion.
I move to approve the ordinance with the stipulation with the change on.
That would be an inter-city race.
Intercity race.
Correct.
We have a motion.
I'll second.
And a second. Any discussion?
Chief, you know what this raise is gonna cost you? PD ended up falling under, taking the brunt of, well, streets too. It changed the whole scope of the whole thing. It's like 10K and all that stuff, we spent about $30,000.
How much?
30,000. You're saying we spent 30,000 on this?
Mayor, City Council?
He's got here, put about 15,000.
If I may, I'm sorry, Chief, excuse me. We did put a fiscal impact there. That includes sawhorses, it includes traffic control. It should be no more than maybe 2 hours, 2.5 hours max.
You get this will impact about $15,000.
Yes, that's correct, sir, with that includes everything. Finance estimates. Oh, I didn't know if you wanted something specific break off from Chief.
The whole thing from when we're sitting in the park, which is an officer or two against probably 20, at least probably 20, 25, something to consider.
Okay.
So, let me elaborate.
Mr.
So-
Enriquez?
So my question would be, the fiscal impact that's on the agenda today?
Yes, sir.
Is that including the inner city area, or is it based on the municipal park?
No, sir. That is based on estimates that were provided by Public Works, by our own staff, obviously in code enforcement, PD for having to set up, basically security for the event itself.
But is it based on what's on the agenda, which is the municipal park, or is it based on the inner city that we just changed it to, modified it to?
No, sir. It's based on utilizing the inner city route of Freddie Veterans.
So we just wanted
Canton.
I wanted to make sure that that amount is for what we amended our motion for.
That is correct, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, any further discussion? If not, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Same sign. That motion carries 4-1. Okay, we're going to go back to the beginning. I just wanted to clear those things out since we did have some people that were waiting there. Public hearing. Really quick, let's go to the one where everybody already spoke. That was item F. Public hearing, item F. I'm going to read this out. Hold a public hearing and consider the ordinances providing the comprehensive plan amendment from suburban uses to auto-urban uses and the rezoning request from suburban residential district to auto-urban residential district, being north 5 acres of east of 1/2 of the stated lot, and that is being requested by Lashanti Enterprises.
Motion to deny.
At this time, this public hearing is open. All those willing to speak for or against this item can approach the podium now. No motions yet, guys. No motions. Hold up.
Once again, Mr. Mayor, City Council, Rene Barrera representing Lashanti Enterprises regarding this item, the rezoning. I think there was some misunderstanding of our intention of this, the proposed use of this land. What we intend to do is develop this into a single-family lot subdivision, single-family residences that would be comprised of 3-bedroom, 2-bath homes, 2-car garages. And I was speaking to Mr. Anaya just a little while ago, and he is welcome to come up here. I explained the project, what we propose to do, and I understand that if we intend to proceed in this fashion, that you would have no objection? Yeah. And I'm here to answer any questions that council may have in regards to...
Does anybody have any questions? No, wait a minute. Anybody wishing to speak? Are you done, Mr. Pereira?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anybody else wishing to speak for or against this item can approach the podium.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Councilman. My name is Dr. Constantine Ohabo. I own a 6-acre lot there, and I'm opposed to this. And my question is, If there is no, if he's going to do a 3-bedroom, 2-bath single-family home, why are they trying to rezone in the first place? That's the question I have. That community is supposed to be large lots, about 70 feet wide. So if he's going to do large lots, single family, then there should be no need for rezoning. So if it's rezoning, it means he's trying to deviate from the master plan.
Thank you, sir. Anybody wishing to speak for or against this item can approach the podium now from the public.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. I'm just really, I'm pro-developing, I'm all good, but let's take a look at that intersection. It's pretty bad. There's been already accidents there. The drainage is bad. So all we want is for you guys to kind of take a look at it and let's do it right. Let's not make this problem a little bigger. So you already have a hard time. I mean, there's very few homes in there, but if you've been on that road and trying to get into Monmac, I mean, it's very dangerous, and if we continue this route, it's going to create a lot of issues and probably accidents, and hopefully we can prevent this. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir. What was your name for the record?
Sorry. Saul Ortega.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ann Flores, and I live on Monmac Road, so this whole issue about the corner and its development came to our notice because we talk among neighbors. So we understand that right now that property is zoned suburban, so you can build houses on it for single families. We don't understand why rezoning is needed. It seems to me that it's very compact development that's being proposed, and we're concerned about the traffic levels on our street and also that intersection. In addition, I am speaking for Dr. Adalberto Garza, he and his wife are unable to come tonight because they have a close friend who died and the wake is tonight. So his concern is that there's a tremendous amount of traffic already on Freddy Gonzalez, and Freddy Gonzalez is not a complete street yet. It's not got a shoulder. It's lacking sidewalk on both sides. It's got sidewalk on one side, and septic tanks are what are being used on that south side of Freddy Gonzalez. We're not talking about a proper amount of infrastructure for a complex, large development. I mean, large in the sense of having a lot of people in a concentrated place. So, thank you for listening.
Thank you, ma'am. Anybody else wishing to speak for or against this item can approach the podium now.
Yeah, I'm also kind of speaking against it to the degree where that's our problem right there with, I know that from the business point of view, they want to maximize the property, I understand that. But from the other side of the being congested, it's going to be very congested, very too many homes, there's homes there back to back. I don't right now, and I don't know when the infrastructure is going to be able to support that. And not only that, we kind of wanted to see at least if it's kept the way it is. I think there's a functionality there where there's a balance between what is going to fit that area and from the business side of the gentleman. So again, I'm kind of against rezoning it at this moment. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, anyone else wishing to speak on this item for or against can approach the podium now.
Mr. Rose.
I already spoke, but I'm going to add one additional comment, okay? I'm not a zoning expert, don't ever pretend to be, but the concern that I have is that somebody comes before the group and puts something on a table and says, this is what I'm going to do, and then they turn around and do something entirely different, and there's no recourse for doing that, for stopping that. I don't know that that can happen, but I will tell you that that does concern me. I don't have a problem with somebody coming and saying, this is what I'm going to do, but if that's what you're going to do, then that's what you're going to do. You're not going to do something else. And I don't know how it works, but that's just something that's been running through my mind as I've been hearing people speak. My concern is really just the safety factor. And I really just urge everybody to take time, take another look at this, because I think it's been overlooked. I just really feel that way. That's all I ask.
Thank you, Mr. Rose. Anyone else? If that is the case, I'm going to close the public hearing, and I'm going to entertain a motion.
Motion to deny.
Second.
We have a motion to deny and a second. Any discussion?
I have,
Mr. Enriquez?
go ahead. Okay, so, again, I tend to agree with the people that have come up to the podium and voice their concerns regarding the infrastructure that needs to be in place in order for our development to continue. So I really urge this council to, meet, have more workshops, have more meetings, have more discussions with our administration so we can have a vision for our city so these developments can occur, and they can occur efficiently where they're building it and the infrastructure is already in place. So that's something that I'm imploring my fellow council members that we do. That's why we're up here, to make those decisions for the next 20 to 30 years. So that's my comment.
And I'd like to say, we have a professional staff here that we use in the city of Edinburg, in the planning and zoning department, the city manager department. Our staff has recommended that this should be denied. It doesn't fit our comprehensive plan amendments that we have the rule book that we've set up as a city to these type of projects. And that's why I'm looking at we shouldn't do it. And just to let these neighbors know and everybody else, for this council to overturn the planning and zoning department, you have to have a 4/5 vote. So if 4 of us don't vote to deny this, then it'll go the way that they want it. So everybody understands that part of it. I understand that right?
Yes.
Correct? It has to be a 4/5. So I agree with you 100%. We set a rule book. Remember, I came from the police department. We were very set more on rules. We do Texas law, and that's what we've done. So you're governed by the rules that we have at the time. So that's where you're going to see a lot of this come from me. This is what Jay's staff, this is what we're paying them for. And if this isn't right or something like that, then we get rid of Jay, Mr. Sines. And that's where I have to go back and recommend along with the arguments of the neighborhood. But you got to do what's right, and this is just right.
I want to make a comment as well. I listened to a lot of the people that came up, and I can see that there's an obvious issue with putting this development there. A lot of what I've heard is, hold on, we need to look at this a little bit further. We have a lot of undeveloped property in that area that I would like to see developed. I think it should be single family. I don't see a lot of people that came up that were saying off with their head. I think they're saying, time out, let's discuss it. We want some input as to what type of development is going to go in this area. So the question that I have, Richard, is if we deny this today, let's say we go to table, because we've done this before where there was a complex that was against, there was 3 stories. They went and talked to the developer and it became 2 stories. Kind of let them communicate with each other and iron their differences out, because that's the way it should be done. And then at the end of the day, if they can't come to a conclusion, we can come back and deny it.
Well,
Hold on.
Okay.
Hold on.
Mayor and council, the point that Mr. Rose made is correct. Once you rezone the property, then any kind of development that's allowed in that zoning can occur, which could include apartments. So there is no control once the property is rezoned. Also on rezoning, we have to be real careful. We can't conditionally zone property either. That's not allowed. So we can, if you like, table the item, but it would be just to kind of iron out what the development is. But at the end of the day, once that property is rezoned, any use that's allowed in that zone can occur. And the only thing that we could do at that point is it'd have to get subdivided, and then we'd have to look at the development plan as far as how they're gonna service as water and sewer, and drainage. But, you know, the rezoning is really, contingent on not what they plan on putting there, it's what's allowed in the district.
Okay, so what you're saying, Richard, is if it's rezoned, it can be anything.
Jay could tell you what is allowable.
If I may, Council, Mayor and Council, again, Jesus Sanchez, Director of Planning and Zoning. So what you're looking at in an auto urban residential district is either a little bit more of flexible zoning in that it allows for a higher density single family or a lower density multifamily. But alluding to what Mr. Hinojosa is saying, whatever the code allows for, if that zoning district is changed, the staff cannot restrict that. So if, and I'm not saying that Mr. Maheshwari will do this, or the developer will do this, but if the idea is, you know what, this is not going to work, we're going to do apartments, if the zoning is passed and auto urban allows apartments, then if that's what the zoning is, then we cannot stop that, right? Other than to regulate the height of the building, the building setback separation, et cetera. So in this particular circumstance, what they're representing is saying, hey, look, we're doing single family, but they're very small lots. So it's high density. There's a lot of people packed into a smaller area. At least that's what's being proposed right now. And again, that's just preliminary. We cannot hold him to this. This is just an example to show you what he's thinking about doing. So all we're talking here is land use. Does this fit for what they're wanting to do? And that's really up to council to decide that.
Mayor. I just want to say that for the record, I second motion because I have personally driven through that street. I went all the way to the dead end where Mr. and Mrs. Rhodes lived and the other residents. And it is very congested because it's only a single lane basically to their home. And on top of that, there is no traffic lights coming out of their street. And it's a very high traffic area with the school Norma Linda being next door in the park. And I just think it's an unsafe place for them to build that at the moment.
If I may, Councilman, and that's one of the discussions that I've had with Mr. Reyna, our Assistant City Manager as well. Part of the reason why a light hasn't been put up in that particular intersection was because the previous property owner did not want to dedicate right-of-way. This developer, in the conversations with the engineer of record, they've indicated as part of the subdivision process that they would dedicate right-of-way for that purpose to place a light there. And again, I'm not for or against, I'm just providing information that I just received a few minutes ago, because there is a traffic light warranted in that intersection. So if we had sufficient right-of-way, we would put a light there.
I just think that needs to be done before we actually change the zoning, because safety needs to come first.
Well, the issue's been the dedication of the property in order for us to be able to put the light there. So, because we don't have sufficient room.
Mayor, I have a question, or a comment.
Yes, sir.
So again, you heard the people up here that were speaking against it.
Sure.
And they see it. The infrastructure needs to be there along Freddy Gonzalez and Monmac. Before any development happens, before we decide what type of development goes into this area, we need to do our job as elected officials and have a vision and put the money in there so that that street can be renovated, because it definitely should be a 5-lane by now. From McCall all the way to 23rd Street, that should be a 5-lane street. And we have to do our part by allocating funds in the budget process for these things. So, you know, I agree with all the residents in that area that the infrastructure needs to be in place before we do anything. In regards to rezoning, and well, actually just the rezoning, right? It's basically rezoning.
That's all that's being determined right now at this point, is whether this particular piece of property can be used in this fashion according to our code.
Because if we put in the infrastructure, if the city puts in the infrastructure, the development will happen, correct? I mean, that's pretty typical. When we provide infrastructure, sewer, water, drainage, streets, developers want to develop in those areas.
If infrastructure is there, that usually spurs development, because then the developer themselves don't have to go through the expense of pulling a sewer line. I mean, as you understand.
Right. So, to me, it's common sense that if you want that area to develop, Let's put in the infrastructure. At least plan for it.
Mayor, can I say something now? What's the zoning for suburban?
So suburban residential is a single-family residential zoning district as well. However, it is different in that it was made more for lots of 15,000 square feet and up. So very large kind of, I guess you would say, it's going to sound funny, juxtaposing, but it's more of a rural urban lot, right? I mean, in that it's a very it's not typical to have a lot that large within the city. Mainly your lots are about 5,000 square feet, 7,100 square feet, but lots in the city that are about 15,000 and up, maybe half an acre, typical in the country is suburban residential.
Appropriate for resident, like I guess I just did my lot in my house, like 8,200 square feet. So what would that more or less be?
8,200 square feet.
Well, just that size, the 75 by 110.
I mean, if you...
So would that be suburban? That's not suburban, so what's then it's a single family?
It would be a neighborhood conservation 7.1, something of that nature with
So then
setbacks.
that's what this should be. If they want to make single family houses on that side, that's probably where we should be headed.
I mean, that would be more conducive to the comments that we've heard, as far as that concerns.
So if we deny this today, it doesn't mean they can't come back and get the little bit larger lots at 75.
No, sir, it doesn't. I mean, they can
stop them proceeding to
request
come
any of
back
the zoning.
next week with a little bit larger lots, or whatever the difference is.
They can do that,
Between where they're
Commissioner.
at here and the next one. So there is another category between here and here that could suffice. Well, that would be
Yes,
up to
sir,
them,
there's
but I'm
several.
asking you, there's a category in here, and they wouldn't allow the multifamily residential?
No,
type?
sir.
Okay, that's all I want.
Yes,
Thank you.
Mr. Barrera, are you looking at altering this thing in any way? Because it doesn't look like this thing is going to pass.
Rene Barrera, once more for the record. No, like Jay said, it's single family. We do have that option of being more condensed single family residential subdivisions. I understand about infrastructure. When we do with the subdivision, normally the city burdens the developer to provide that infrastructure in the form of street widening. Freddy Gonzalez, there's going to be right-of-way dedications, street widening escrows for Freddy Gonzalez, sidewalks along Freddy Gonzalez and along Monmac, street widening along Monmac as well, plus to ensure that the utilities are sufficiently adequate for the development. That burden is placed on the developer at no city cost. And it would be our burden to supply that and engineer that to comply with city requirements. As far as corner clips, maybe there's a traffic study that's required that might be warranted as well. But that's something that staff would have to discuss. But the intention, Mr. Maheshwari has done developments along this corridor, the Midlands, Newcastle, same type of development. That's all he wants to do at this stage. Of course, there's no way to guarantee through this process that that's going to happen, but that's his intention.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We do have a motion to deny and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. That motion is denied. Up next.
Was it a 5-0 or was it?
5, 4, whatever. What's next? Up next, we have hold a public hearing and consider the rezoning request from agricultural district to suburban residential, being Lot 20, Austin Garden subdivision, located at 3711 Highland Street, being requested by Alejo Salinas Jr. At this time, this public hearing is open. Anybody wishing to speak for or against this item can approach the podium now.
Good evening, members of the council, mayor. I'm Alejo Salinas Jr. I'm requesting the change in zoning for this particular property. It's at the end of the city limits on the north side. in this particular area. We've been through planning and zoning. That's been being recommended to the city, and I'm here to answer any questions that anybody might have. I feel that it complies with all of the requirements that the city is asking for. The lot size is approximately 0.89 acre, and it lends itself to suburban planning zone. Any questions?
No, Mayor Salinas.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody wishing to speak for or against this item can approach the podium now. If that's the case, I will close the public hearing and I will entertain a motion.
Motion for approval.
Second. Well, a motion approved in a second. Any discussion? If not, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. We're going to go back to public hearings A. Hold a public hearing, reconsider the rezoning request from agricultural district to commercial general district, being 1.983 acre tract of land, or lot 18, block 40, Santa Cruz Gardens, located on the northeast corner of Doolittle and Davis, being requested by AEC Engineering. At this time, this public hearing is open. Anybody wishing to speak for or against this item can approach the podium now. If nobody from the public wishes to speak for or against this item, I'm going to close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
Motion for approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I have some
Mr. Enriquez?
questions. So, on this particular item, they're gonna put a Dollar General there?
That's what's being proposed, sir.
Okay, so where's the commercial? Because on the rationale, it says there's, to the south, there's commercial. Is that?
Yes, immediately to the south, there's that meat market, Mario's Supermarket.
Okay.
On the south side. And there's immediately, I want to say to the west, there's also a small convenience store. It's just outside in the ETJ, but there is that convenience store immediately to the south. And so that's actually one of the reasons why when they came in to both request annexation, because this property was outside the city limits, was its close proximity to some of the surrounding residential neighborhoods, and they felt that, you know what, the convenience store on the south side is more of a meat market per se, or it has its own niche. We'll be able to capture with the just general goods that Dollar General sells.
Oh, they'll get a lot of business.
Yeah, that's what they're proposing.
And that's what leads to my next question is, during the permitting process, they're gonna have to follow, or they're gonna have to widen the road.
Yes, sir.
The length of their property line on both Doolittle and Davis Road?
Yes, sir. They're going through the subdivision process and have asked for no exceptions. So they know they're going to have to widen street lights, sidewalks, drainage. All of that has been proposed by the engineer. No exceptions have been requested, and if they are, they'll be brought before this council.
Because every Dollar General here in Edinburg is always packed. I mean, they're coming in and out.
Guess they're doing something right. I mean,
Like, so I want to make sure that the traffic there, that there's a shoulder there to where people turning into Dollar General or coming out, that they have a lane to turn into.
yes, sir.
Okay.
Speak with the engineer of record and ensure that traffic analysis is done in this area as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yes,
Appreciate
sir.
it.
Okay, any further discussion? If not, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. We're going to go next to C. Hold the public hearing and consider the rezoning request from Suburban District, Urban Residential District, being 2-acre tract of land located on Sugar Road and mile 17 and a half. That's being requested by Luis Muro. This time, this public hearing is open. Anybody wishing to speak for or against this item can approach the podium now.
Good evening, Councilman. My name is Luis Muro. I'm with American Value Construction, and we're trying to get that zone rezoned to multifamily. Any questions or concerns y'all have, I can answer them at this moment.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else wishing to speak for or against this item can approach the podium now. If not, I will close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
This is C, right?
Yes, C.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion approved second. Any discussion?
I have a question.
Mr. Enriquez?
So, yes, Mr. Sines.
Oh, pardon me.
Well,
Yes, sir.
the developer might want to stand close
Okay.
to you because he'll probably have to answer. But on his little sketch here on the master plan, where he has a sketch of how the configuration of the apartments are going to be, the U shape. He has 40 apartments, 2 floors, 20 apartments each floor, and he has 63 parking spaces.
Yes, sir.
So you do a quick math, you know, two cars per household.
Right.
That's 40 times 8, 40 times 2, that's 80 parking spaces. But
that's-
yet he's proposing 63. I know it has to go through the process, but is he, or are you willing to increase the number of spaces?
Yes, definitely. The new site
Okay.
plan that we're working on already has enough parking spaces, and there's going to be a much more units. It's going to be 48 units in total, and we're going to have 86 parking spaces.
How many?
86.
86?
So it's
Okay.
going to be a mix. It's going to have 2 bedrooms and 1 bedrooms.
Okay. All right, appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, no other discussion. I'm going to call for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Next, we're going to go to D. Hold a public hearing to consider the comprehensive plan amendment from suburban uses to industrial uses and the rezoning request from the Neighborhood Conservation located at 308 West Orange. That's being requested by R&D Logistics, Inc. At this time, this public hearing is open. Anybody wishing to speak for or against this item can approach the podium now.
My name is June Job with R&D Logistics. Thank you for hearing me. I've had this land for over 10 years without doing anything with it. It's an old ice house, and we'd like to rezone it to the same as our property east of it, where we can tear down the old ice house and make a parking lot.
Thank you, ma'am. Anybody else wishing to speak for or against this item can approach the podium now. Nobody else wishes to proceed to the podium. I'm going to close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion approved in a second. Any discussion?
Question for Jay.
Yes, sir.
Jay, just real quick. Doesn't comply with the city's comprehensive plan, but yet the staff recommended approval. I think that's rare times, if I've ever seen that you all go against the plan.
Correct. If I may, actually, this item has come up twice before, back in 2008 and in 2013. And in 2008, it was recommended for approval by the staff, and the P&Z recommended for approval. But it didn't move forward to council for some reason, and it did not advance. 2013, Plan and Zoning recommended for approval also. And I think the real reason why that's happening is because R&D Logistics is already on an industrial site, right? They got a zoning, and their business exists, and they have a trucking company there. This property has been in their hands for, as she mentioned, 10 years. And they've been trying to rezone it, but they just haven't completely committed through the entire process of coming through council. They want to improve it. They want to expand their business. And in this particular subdivision, to be quite honest, it's a bit of a mixed bag. We annexed it in '96. The subdivision got recorded in '82, and you have about, I want to say there's about 33 residential lots here, and some of them are multifamily, some of them are single family. There was a rezoning not too long ago, I want to say in 2014, in which they did a small trucking repair company, and yet the back part is a residential area. So this has been kind of been tossed around a little bit on what exactly and how this subdivision should be developed. So you are correct. We did recommend that. But we do realize, and I've met with Ms. Job at her business also years back, and they explained, look, we just want to knock down this old ice house and we want to put a parking lot here for our existing business. But we can't do that because the zoning isn't in place. And so that's what's being recommended now. But again, we talk about land use again, and anything that's allowed in the code in an industrial zone, if this zoning gets approved, will be allowed to be put there. So, but again, that's why I run through all the scenario and why I explain why we recommend it for approval at this time, because they already have their business on this lot. This is just adjacent to. Now, we'll still require that they meet all of the city building codes, requiring fencing, landscaping, buffering, to ensure that it doesn't unduly impact the residents that's right next door. So I hope that answers your question, Councilman.
Okay, we had a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Not, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. E, hold a public hearing and consider the comprehensive plan amendment from industrial, urban, auto-urban uses to rezoning request a neighborhood conservation district to auto-urban residential being located on Santa Cruz Orange Garden subdivision. That's at 321 West Palm, being requested by Zenaida Rodriguez Reyes. At this time, this public hearing is open. Anybody wishing to speak for or against this item can approach the podium now. Nobody wishes to approach the podium on this item from the public. I'm going to close the public hearing, and I'm going to entertain a motion.
Motion to deny.
We have a motion to deny
Second.
and a second. Any discussion?
Yeah, this goes back to the same, this is a staff recommended denial too.
The P and Z also request denial?
3-2 to deny, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, same sign. That was denied. F has already been taken care of. We're going to 6, presentations and reports. We have A, presentation and possible action regarding the capital lease program purchases for the fiscal year 2019 to 2020.
Good evening, Council, Mayor. Tom Reina, Assistant City Manager. I'm bringing back, as you recall, in our last joint workshop where we discussed the capital lease program, where we had discussed where we needed to go back and see if we can move some of the smaller items and some of the larger items to see what we will be able to do through the lease program and what can be absorbed into the general fund. So I myself and our Finance Director, Mr. Dago Soto, went over the list, and this is what we would like to present to you on some of the items that we've been working on. I did provide you a larger copy so you wouldn't see that on the presentation. As you can see, I have broken it down by department on what items they were going to be purchasing through the capital lease and what's the amount of savings that we did change on some of the items. And if you notice any of them with the asterisk, those are the items that I did have to add additional stuff to this list for some items that we did leave behind or something that we've discovered during some of our construction projects. So at this point, the general fund, we have knocked it down from 5.987 to 5.5924, which is a savings of 62,619. The same also for those Lagos, we knocked it down 22,543. Same thing for the airport, 10,912. For solid waste management, we've also knocked it down $38,000. And for utilities, we knocked it down $230,000. If you go to the next area, on the other one that says general fund purchases, these are the items that we were able to absorb in through our general fund, which eventually will require a mid-year appropriation to establish those funds per fund. So we have all these broken down for you, so for your consideration. Also, at the end of the page, if you see the total amount that we were able to save in the whole capital lease projects, we did get finance for 9.9, close to $10 million. We were able to come down to 9.6, which we have a savings of $364,894. And again, these are all broken down by different funds. So we are asking for your recommendation to see how we can proceed with the additional funds or go back and refinance with the lesser amount of the 364.
I got some questions, Mayor.
Mr. Enriquez?
Real quick, before I give some comments or make some comments, I have one question on the police department. We have the 1.692 of police units, patrol units. I'm assuming those are vehicles, right?
Correct, sir. There'll be the 47 units
Right.
for patrol units and then another 5 for CID units.
Okay, so my question is, the useful life, you have 3 years.
That is correct for a patrol car.
That's the way it is, okay.
Yes, sir, because remember, most of these units are on 24 hours a day and depends on the shift, so they do get eaten up pretty quick.
Okay, and all these are brand new, correct?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Okay. Now, my other comments are, we had the joint meeting with the EDC regarding some projects that we're doing for our citizens. You know, one is the park, the North Park, and 2 is the Ethula Park, or the Ethula Gym. And there was a comment that was brought up by Mr. Hinojosa about the equipment and all that kind of stuff. Is this something that we could utilize to purchase whatever equipment we're lacking with the savings that you've indicated here?
That is correct, sir. That would be for the general fund, since that would be part of our general operating fund, which we have that $62,000 that we can allocate for any additional equipment. Or if we want to do a bigger project at one of these parks or anything that we need to add, that money would be available for that. Or when we go over to the next presentation and look at some of the capital projects that we can move around, then that will be an option also.
Okay.
But yes, it would have to be for a purchase item as is equipment and items. Like,
Tom, did we ever get your parking lot done?
no, sir, but it's still on the budget, and it's going to get done for the service center. And our Public Works Director, Vince, is assuring me that it will get done, sir.
So it's already budgeted?
Yes, sir.
We're going to get it done finally?
Yes, sir. It's still part of the last year's budget. That's still part of our capital project.
I just have one question.
Mr. Johnny?
I just want to have one question. On the units for the police department, do we need that many at the current time?
Yes, sir. These are our replaceable units that they do go through a useful life much quicker. And that's because we cut it down for the amount of vehicles that we do need, sir.
Well, that's why I'm asking, because I think we need to kind of break it up per year, where you don't have to renew every 3 years the whole amount.
Yes, sir, but this is just a quarter of the vehicles that we are going to replace, and we are going to cycle them out. At this point, unfortunately, you weren't here during the budget workshop. This list is to get us up to speed and bring everything up to standards. And then eventually, that's how we will cycle out. We'll do 15 cars here, 15 cars there, 20 cars there. But unfortunately, we haven't had a rotation on some of these vehicles that there are over almost 200,000 miles per each vehicle, and they do have a lot of wear and tear for them. So we are recommending that we take advantage of the great pricing that we did get to cycle out these vehicles. And some of them that are available for recycling, we'll recycle them to some of the other departments that do need vehicles. We've had a standing history with the police department to do that. It's always been great for us at the same time.
Okay, thank you.
So my other, Mayor, I have
Mr. Enriquez?
More questions. So on all these vehicles that are being purchased or requested to be purchased, who determines what type of vehicles and how much?
That's each director is responsible for turning in these items, which we turn them in during the budget process. They determine their needs and what they need for the units. In the past, we were usually just given a truck, a stipend, this is your truck, which didn't come with anything. Just was a plain truck. It didn't have any hitches. It didn't have any sidebars. It didn't have the rails. It didn't have the lights. So eventually we had to spend more money to have that unit equipped, ready for service. So now what we did was we actually put out they send out an individual quote for buy board for the local vendors and get all that, like we explained before, and that's sure to ensure that this is a fully turnkey unit ready to go.
And I understand that for operational departments.
Yes, sir.
But like, for instance, the municipal court, we have two at $33,920. That's a pretty large amount for a vehicle for a municipal court that I would think is only one person riding it, or what are they doing?
Yes, sir. Well, that's for each marshal. Each marshal, it's basically, yes, sir.
Okay. So
It's for the
what do they
marshals.
do? Do they
The
carry people
marshals,
in?
yes, sir. They do serve warrants. It's basically, they are a peace officer, so we do kind of keep them the same way as a police unit.
Okay, good. Thank you for that.
Mr. White?
With that thought that Councilmember
Dude, how could you forget me, man? How could you forget me?
I had too much on my mind. It's on the police side of it. If the marshal's only getting a car that's 33, the police are getting 36. The marshal should be getting a police package vehicle, which they should end up shorter.
Yes, sir.
They should get a pursuit. Yeah, but if they're at 33 each and chief's at 36, imagine his are probably closer numbers.
Yes, sir.
Might end up short with court.
Well, this is a living document that I can change on yours direction. If you want me to add, of course, that's going to change a little bit on the total amount and the savings that we're going to have, but it's a possibility that I can change as of right now before.
Just look into it, because they should have if they're going to the same Ford police package, it should be no difference. Or if we're getting a cost savings, they need to buy them with chief so we can get the discount.
That's exactly what we're going to do, because we will get a discount. So as of history shown, as last year's capital lease, we did have a large cost savings on some of these items. So I do come back to y'all and show y'all what we have available left and how much funding we have available left, and for y'all to give us direction on what do you want us to do with that additional funding.
The other question I had was the capital lease. This is like a loan.
Yes, sir. This is what we covered 2 meetings ago, where we did bring it back and show that it is a loan. It is a loan, but we finance it through the 5 years.
Just to be argumentative, maybe that's what I'm being, but on a loan, if you're going to get a loan for 9.9, you don't get a savings if you spend less.
Right.
Not a savings.
It's a savings as of purchase.
We didn't spend
of
a much, so
equipment.
we got a little bit extra left in my loan.
Yes, sir. That is correct.
This is a loan on my house. I'll be giving
But
the money back.
as directed, we did follow up with our financing, and we do not get any penalties if we do pay that off earlier than anticipated. And we'll still come back to you with that amount that we have additional that we could utilize for.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, so I got a few things that I want to ask.
Go ahead, Mr. Enriquez.
On the, where am I? For this building, the city council chambers audio improvements for all occasions. So that's $75,000. Is that just for this room?
Just for this room, sir.
Okay, are we going to put audio outside the chamber in the foyer area?
We have not decided that, no.
Okay, is that something that we
We can
might be
surely look
looking
into it to see how much it would come out to be.
Okay. And just because when it's full, the people out there can't hear what's being discussed in here, so that's the
Yes,
only
sir.
reason
I'm
bringing that up.
It shouldn't be a difficult fix to do.
Okay. And then the other thing is this 30-ton AC unit, for what building is that?
That is, I don't have, let me see here. For the auditorium, sir.
For this?
For this
Okay.
auditorium, sir.
Okay. And then one of the things that I would like to ask is how many, what do you call those towers, Chief?
The Skywatch Towers?
The Skywatch Towers. How many do we currently have?
Council, Chief Torres, we have 4 towers at this point, and we're in the process of trying to get 2 more. We've got I asked one of our grant individuals to ask for 275,000 more, which it was approved to get an additional tower. But we're looking at getting 2 more.
Okay, so the one here is one that you're requesting too, because there's one on here.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay, so if we get this one, then we'll have a total of 5, and then the other 2 that you're trying to get, the other 2?
No,
is
this
that-
one would be the 5th one, and that would be 100,000 from the Stone Garden budget, and the match would be 58,000 from the police department.
Okay, because, you know, I would really love to see more of those, because I
Yes,
think they deter a lot of criminal activity, and I think with the trash that people dump everywhere, I think that would help out also.
Yes, sir, and we move them, we use them all the time. In fact, this morning, we got a call at 1:30 in the morning where there were Castle Ridge, there was someone driving around with the lights off, and I got text messages early in the morning, so we deployed one of our towers to that subdivision and a retired squad car, so all the residents there are very happy. In fact, we had a meeting with some of them today. On the 18th, we have a neighborhood watch, and we're starting at that particular subdivision. So the Skywatch Tower is a very important piece of equipment for us that has helped us to reduce crime.
And what is the coverage on these towers? What's the coverage?
360, sir.
No, but like, how far does it go out? Like, how far can they, how
How
many miles out does it
Well, it's a
look?
good block.
Oh, a good block?
Yeah, it's a good block, but the most important thing about this, that it's a deterrent. When the
Right.
tower's on, the red and blue lights are on all the time.
Right.
And we have the app on our phone that we can look at what's going on around the clock. So
with the 5 that we have, you can say that it's not enough for the square miles that the city encompasses. 5 is a little drop
Well, if I
compared
had-
to what the size of our city is.
if I had my way, we'd have 20 at least. We need them. They're very, very important. You know, drive crime out of Edinburg, and that's the goal that the police department has.
So this is something that we can be budgeting, you know,
Yes, sir.
every other year in your budget.
Yes, sir.
So we can get to that number, that quantity.
Well, historically in Edinburgh, we've been getting 275,000 from the Stone Garden, and this year I talked to one of the lieutenants, Duffner, and I asked him to put in for another one, and we did, and we got another 275,000. So as long as we're showing that we're purchasing equipment and logging it with Stone Garden funds sticker, then they're good to us. So the idea is in the future, as the city grows, obviously crime, it comes with a price. So the idea, hopefully in the future, forward vision will be 15, 20 towers. But
Right. And each tower is $60,000 according to this?
no, sir, it's 158,000
Oh,
per
150.
tower.
So then why does this one, 100K
Yes, sir.
funding, okay. I see. All right, appreciate it, thank you.
You bet.
Mr. White?
Sir.
We're still getting a lot of this out of TCSA funding, and we're paying like 60 ourselves, right?
That's correct,
It's
sir.
like the match. That's what it's been really good because of you doing TCSA or are you doing Stone Garden?
No, Stone Garden is 100,000.
Yeah.
Now, the 58 is TCSA
we
now. I just met with the Stone Garden folks, and they're telling us that we're going to be able to use more than 100,000 from Stone Garden, so that's very good news for us.
That's where we started doing this and trying to get them. We're paying like 60 a year for one. Each one we're buying them for like we're buying them for 60. The other is part of a grant.
Every year.
Yes, sir. But
And
the way it's
it's a real
looking right
good
now,
program.
the way it's looking right now is that we might be able to even buy it for 140, 50,000, and our would be to pay up $10,000, $15,000. That's what it's looking like today after the meeting we had with the Stone Garden folks. So it's
And that's equipped already, ready to service?
Turnkey,
I mean,
sir.
with all our
It's turnkey.
logos and everything?
everything. You
Everything.
pull it, set it up, and we just download the app, and we're ready to go.
Please keep in mind, though, if we do get more towers, we need larger vehicles to pull them. We've already went through a couple.
We'll just use the one you drive.
Yeah.
My blue truck will do it.
Yeah, but
I'm kidding, I'm kidding.
So it's not like.
Which we got it.
Strike
Yeah,
that
we
from
don't
the
need all
record,
the-
Mr. Rios.
So Richard,
please.
are you going to require action on this?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so if that's the case, we've got our presentation. I'll entertain a motion on this item.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign, that motion carries. B, presentation and possible action regarding the capital improvement projects. Tom?
Yes,
Podium
sir.
is yours.
I actually did, I'm sorry, I did not print out one extra one, but it is the same that is in the packet. These are the list of projects that we did present to you during city council, during their workshop. So nothing has changed on that. One of the items that I would like to bring out was one of the items that Mr. Anaya was requesting about, which is the Oasa Sewer Road project improvements, which are on this list. We have, every department has listed the large purchases and projects that we have down there. Some of the highlighted ones that we do have are, of course, the $5 million for paving throughout the city, which we will bring back to you to get your approval and blessing on the roadways that we are going to improve. Also, we do have the bathhouse that's on here also for Municipal Park and some of the other items, as you can see. You can see Phase 1, Owasso Sewer Road improvements, Owasso Sewer Road improvement Phase 2, and East Owasso Sewer improvements. This one will
What number is that, Tom? Oh, okay.
31 and 30. Some of them will have, one of them will have to be modified and bring it back for that because we're determining that we are going to require a lift station in this project, which we're looking towards which would be west of the expressway on Owasso Road, but it is still a very viable project. We are currently under design on some of these items, so we're hoping these will fund during the construction.
Who's designing this one?
For that one, I believe is Quintanilla, Headley and Associates off the rotation list.
Okay. So, let me ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
The municipal water park bathhouse, is that the one by the Parks and Rec?
Yes, sir. That is at the Municipal Park Pool, which, if you know, the bathhouse has been in existence since the 70s, I believe, or even older. We would like to renovate it, bring it up, put up some canopies and bleachers for parents when they are watching their children. And then also, which goes along perfectly with the past interlocal agreement that we just passed with the school district to improve the heater for the pool. So we will have a fully functional swimming pool area. And Parks and Rec is extremely excited to get that. So we are going to be entertaining architect shortly as soon as we get approval on this.
Okay, so my question is, how did you come up with that $1.5 million budget?
We did it by your current square foot and basically what we needed to see on the amount of items that we needed in the area. So this is still a basic estimate that we have. So this is the estimate that we're going to be working with the architect to make sure that we follow within budget.
So the pool itself is not going to need any renovation?
No, sir. We actually have one of our better pools in the area. It is an outdoor pool, but we do need to rehab that bathhouse.
What about the pool deck around the pool? I know that there's some areas that...
Yes, sir. If there is, what we actually are going to hire the architect to determine those areas that do need to, so these items of the pool deck will also be addressed during this project.
My only concern is from what I've seen and been at the municipal water park, I mean, I don't believe 1.5 million is enough to get the work that needs to be done to make it, like you said, a fully functional water park for everyone to enjoy, including our students at the high schools. I mean, I would really like to revisit that and see what we can do to allocate additional monies. And if we don't use it, great, we reallocate it somewhere else, but at least have it budgeted so we don't have to come back and amend it later on.
Yes, sir. We can certainly look at it. This is just a proposal. Keep in mind, some of these items are under the general COs, which that means we will be going out for COs for these. And of course, we can revisit those amounts to ensure that we have everything available. The beauty of this also, it's a living document that can be changed. Of course, we would have to look into the finance options on how we will finance those COs.
Right. Now, you have here addition of restrooms at Municipal Park, $80,000.
Yes, sir.
Is that a brand new restroom, or is that they're adding to it?
No, sir. Those are brand new locations because of course, you know, we have a splash pass coming up with a bathhouse. So we're going to be extending sewer to those new bathhouses. So that's going to give us the opportunity to put some where the basketball courts are and the other softball fields for the public to utilize.
But, and refresh my memory, and I don't know, Coach, if you can let clarify, but the ones that we're doing currently at Bicentennial Park and the other parks that we're adding bathrooms,
Yes.
didn't those bids come in like at 350 or 400 or something like
Yeah,
that?
these are just going to be small bathrooms, one stall for female, one for male. What we want to do, we want to put one where the basketball courts is at, on the southeast side.
So they're individual bathrooms?
Individual bathrooms.
They're not gang restrooms?
No, like the
Okay.
kind that existing right now.
Okay.
They exist right now, yes.
And
Yes, sir.
since,
Yeah,
uh,
okay, I thought
keep
they
in-
were gang restrooms, so they're just individual, single
Single
restrooms?
stall restrooms.
Okay.
And keep in mind, sir, in some of those parks, we do have to extend water and sewer out there. That's why the price got a little bit higher. Here, we're taking advantage that we're extending the sewer to the new restrooms and to the splash pads. So we'll be able to branch off that at a closer rate to that sewer line.
Okay. So my next question has to do with the airport. So that $5 million, for the community hangar, $3 million, and the terminal building upgrade, $2 million, is this $5 million total part of that rider that was included in the?
No,
budget?
sir. This is
No?
for our regular capital improvements projects. Please keep in mind that those, we have to put in the totals, but this is the matching funds. We did have some changes to that because of the additional hangar that we're coming up, and so we had to put in the amount, but this is just the matching portion of it.
But this is separate from that rider that was
That is
being
correct, sir. This is
discussed?
our CIP.
Okay, so
for
is
the
it,
airport. I have Ms. Melvin here that she can answer that a little better.
okay.
Ms. Pinto, sorry.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. This additional funding is in addition to the $5 million that the state is providing for the DPS hangar.
Okay, so is that going to be funded this fiscal year, or are we waiting for it for next fiscal year?
It is
Our
being-
fiscal year, I'm
It
talking
is being designed already. It is going for RFPs through the state of Texas. The city's participation for that is $500,000.
Of the $5 million?
Right, so the
Okay.
$5 million comes from the state, and another $500,000 comes from the city, for a total of $5.5 million for the DPS hangar.
Okay, so that was approved by the legislation? and-
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes.
great. So, I appreciate that, Keith.
Thank you.
So my next question is there anything in here that we're budgeting for future projects, like our wastewater treatment plant or anything like that? So we're not budgeting for
No,
for
sir.
those?
We still are, we're still pending the completion of our study for the wastewater treatment plant to determine our budget, our needs, and our location if we need to expand our wastewater. So those funds will come back to you when we do get that finalized report, which we could also look into our utility funds. There's still available funding that we are going to be able to utilize, and that's where we had discussed the last part, if we can seek funding through the Texas Water Development Board on that, but we are waiting for our study to be complete, so that way we have a standard operating budget for us to propose to see where we can utilize that funding for.
Okay. And the
But
land-
yes, it is going to be needed.
Say that, I'm sorry?
It is going to be needed.
Right. So the landfill, the acquisition of, proposed land acquisition and land acquisition, is this the stuff that we were talking about?
This is an additional one that we'll bring back to you also.
Okay. So you haven't brought this to us?
No, sir.
Okay. So this is in addition to
That
the
is
other
correct,
land
sir.
acquisition?
That is correct.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, we have an action here. At this time, I'll entertain a motion on this item.
Motion for approval.
Motion approved.
Yeah. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. C, presentation by Negrete and Kohler Architects, LLP, regarding the possible action on the Edinburg Transit Terminal project.
Good evening, Mayor. Mr. David Negrete with Negrete and Kohler will provide a presentation.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I'm here for a presentation on the Edinburg Transit Terminal that's being constructed a few blocks from here. The last presentation that I did to the council was in the spring of last year, so what I will do is kind of give a monthly sample of the progress up until this December. As a refresher, the project was given notice to proceed on May the 3rd of 2017. Its scheduled completion time was supposed to have been November the 17th, 2018. The project construction contract is for $4,535,000. Through that time, we've certified 28 payment applications between June of 2017 and December last month, for a total of $4,271,996, which is approximately about 99% of the project. This project is a Buy America project. Through that time, we've also processed several change orders. Change order number 1 for $7,247, number 2 for $8,510, and number 3 was actually a credit for $12,000. Change order number 4 was actually using some of those credits, and we have a pending change order number 5 for $10,347. Those last two are related to elevator issues during the certification process by the state inspectors. The contractor has submitted 48 weather-related day extension requests from September 2018 through February 2019. Since then, they haven't submitted any further requests. We've also responded to 46 RFIs and processed 194 submittals. In May, we processed and certified payment application number 21 for $214,372, and that brought the project up to about 88% completion. And you can see some images of the building. We did not have any storefronts, and the building was still open. In June, we processed pay app number 22 for $129,220,000, which brought us up to about 91% of the project. As you can see, now we're starting to get some storefront landscaping around the building. In July, we processed and certified pay app number 23 for $127,581, which brought us up to about 94%. In August, processed pay app number 24 for $43,157, brought us up to 95%. In September, pay app number 25 for $40,078, brought us to about 96% completion. In October, pay app number 26 for $57,982, brought us up to about 97% completion. In November, pay app number 27 for $35,724, brought us up to about 98% completion. And then lastly, for last month, we processed and certified pay app number 28 for $31,958, which brought us up to 99% completion of the project. You see some images of the interior as it's being finished, and the images of the exterior. And that's where we're at this point. That concludes the progress presentation.
I'm David Negrete. I would request City Council to please address the situation of our contract, our agreement with the city. One, to close the contract amount that has been pending for almost 3 years due to internal discussions between the agencies funding the project and a gap in our contract. That amount is right under $48,000. Also, we've, as of November of 2018, the contractor has been in a delay mode. He had the contract extensions all the way into the middle of November. Prior to that, they had a contract time adjustment due to the interpretation of the contract time as to whether it was a calendar day or a contract day. They're defined differently in that calendar days are always running 31 days in a month are 31 calendar contract days. A contract day contract that is used often with federal funding is only work days, Monday through Friday, and excludes holidays, et cetera, et cetera. So the contractor got, actually legal counsel for the city of Edinburg said that really the contract date was, I think, sometime in September due to how the contract had been worded. So they had that time, then they had the approved time extension into the middle of November, which was 14 months ago at this time, basically. So that's how delayed the contractor has been, and we've submitted a request for compensation for the time that we've been dealing with the underperforming nature of the contractor, who should have been finished long ago. Any questions that you all may have, I will address them.
Mr. White?
Should be?
Substantial completion was extended to November, I think, 15th of 2018.
They have a date coming up that they've given, or?
Oh, it's always a moving date. It's been every time we discuss it, it's maybe in the next month, maybe in the next 6 weeks. And that's where we're at right now. We don't know whether it'll be the end of this month or the end of the following month. There's still unfinished work.
So we still don't have a date for substantial completion. They haven't given you a finalized date.
They've requested, they projected a date of this Friday for us to visit the site and make an initial evaluation, but we still see that there's work remaining to be done. Andy can address that more specifically. But we will be there, and we'll meet with the contractor, we'll review the project, and we'll advise the city accordingly.
And what about, has the elevator been certified by the state?
My understanding is that it has been.
Okay. So I've been here for 2 years, and they were working on this project the year prior. And every time we had a meeting or presentation, they would assure us that it was going to get done on a certain date. And those days always came and went and nothing. So, there has to be a time where we hold people accountable for their actions. And, if we don't hold people accountable that are working for our city, then that means every single person that works for our city is going to be able to pretty much do whatever they want. And there's no accountability. And I think it's important that we look at the contractual obligations that every vendor, every contractor, every professional service firm has with Edinburg, and they abide by it, because that's why we have a contract. Is that correct, Mr. Ochoa?
That's correct. Contracts are supposed to spell out the rights and responsibilities of the parties.
Right. So it's important that we hold this company responsible and accountable for their actions, because it's really delayed us from doing anything with that facility, and I'm pretty sure it's delayed you, and you've been impacted because you've had to go out there a lot more than what you budgeted in your original costs to the city when you were awarded the project to design it, correct?
We started this project 4.5 years ago in design mode, and it was bid the fall of 2016, and then it was rebid again, and the contract then awarded in February, I believe, of 2017 with a notice to proceed in May of 2017. We expected a 12-month construction process, and here we are. We're almost approaching 3 years.
36 months later.
Well, 32 minus 4.
Mr. Negrete, you were a part of the process when they went out for bids with this?
Yes, sir. We prepare the documents for the city, help the city with the advertisement, the opening of bids. The city makes the decision on award.
And you recommended this company?
We didn't make a recommendation. The selection was made by the city based on price.
So they just threw a bunch of names up there and said, whoever wants the city council is going to decide?
Well, it's always comes down to a decision by the city leaders. You know, we get the data for you. We get they're all the people that submitted at the time are qualified, and Davila is qualified, and they had a very good record in their area in San Antonio. There was no negative feedback. They've had a very tough time.
Have they been having other issues with other jobs around that you've been hearing? I know that you guys are all in the same circles.
You know, I don't know, and you know what I hear, I don't take much value to it unless I know it personally. So,
and the reason I ask that is because contractors are known to start another job somewhere else and then bite off more than they can chew. Pretty soon they have 4 or 5 jobs, and that's why they can't complete this one. I'm just saying.
I think that would be more appropriately addressed by the contractor.
So I have another question for you, Mr. Negrete. So the $48,000 that you're saying that is owed, is that part of your original contract amount, or is that additional services?
No, it's part of our original contract amount. It's that the city was arranging funding with the 2 agencies, LRGVDC and EEDC, who programmed and drove the design of the project. Our contract is based on the awarded contract. As the scope changed during design, that's what we ended up with. My understanding over the subsequent months and now years was that these things were arranged between the agencies, but we've never gotten the resolution. As we approach the end of the project, I just went ahead and invoiced it based on recommendation of my legal counsel, and so we've invoiced it, so it's in your hands. It's part of our contract.
So the $48,000, when was that $48,000 earned? When did you earn that $48,000? How far back?
We started earning it back in May of 2017.
Okay, and you haven't been paid for that?
No.
So you provided services, and we haven't paid you for those services?
That's correct.
But yet we pay people that don't provide a service in other cases. So
well, I don't know about that.
I would hope that, I mean, for whatever reason, are you lacking any documentation to us for us not to pay you the $48,000?
I have not been asked for anything more than what we have submitted various times.
Okay. So my, you know, and it all comes down to 1, accountability, 2, for the people to earn their pay, to do the work that they were contracted to do, and then get compensated for it. I mean, that's the way business runs. You perform a service, you get paid for it, you move on to the next one. Make sure that you get what you paid for. And for you not to be getting paid, that doesn't make the city of Edinburg look good. I mean, it just doesn't look good.
It's a difficult situation because that funding is tied in with the rest of our compensation. So it's not like I can say, well, you know what, I'm not going to do X, Y, Z, because I would place myself then in default of contract, because it's all integrated with all the services that we're providing with the other funding that is being provided to us.
So you've responded to every request that the city has had, every request that the contractor has had. You've been to every meeting, you've been to every inspection that they request. You've done your due diligence. You've earned every part of your contract amount.
Oh, absolutely. We've been at everything that's been requested of us and everything that we've scheduled to be on site and bring our consultants on site, as well as review all of the documents that come from the contractor to assure that the city of Edinburg is getting what they paid for. And the reason you saw 100 and some odd submittals is because we had to review things 2 and 3 times to make the contractor provide what the contract said they must provide.
So then my next question would be, did you receive any correspondence, any letter from the contractor stating that, or from the city stating that you're not fulfilling your obligations, your contractual obligations under the current contract? Like you're withholding information from, you're not responding to RFIs quick enough, you're not responding to submittal reviews and returns. Have you been notified by either the City of Edinburg or Davila Construction that you haven't been compliant with your duties as a design professional?
No.
Okay. I would like to, Mr. Nahasa, for you to really look into this matter because, you know, he's a businessman. He's for profit, you know, he earns a living, and for us to be holding the money since when? The 48,000? When did you bill the 48,000?
Well, I just sent Mr. Hinojosa the invoice, I think last week. I was unsure about sending the invoice because I didn't have a contract amendment or an acknowledgement from the city, but it's really unnecessary. It's in our contract, and any legal interpretation of our contract says that is the amount.
So you billed for it last month or a week ago.
Yes.
But you've earned it since 20, what did you say?
We've earned it in the last 3 years, yes.
Okay.
For the record, this was a grant that the city received from FTA. The EDDC was matching this grant. It's not the city, it's not city funds, it's EDDC funds. So just, I want to make sure council and the public was aware of that. The city's part of this was the actual financial management for the grant for the Lower Rio Grande Valley Development Council and the EDDC. So definitely we'll look at the contracts and what are pending. I know that we did receive that invoice, so we will act on it and get with all the funding agencies, which is the EDC and the Lower Rio Grande Valley Development.
So just so I can understand, you're paying the contractor and the design professional, the architect, through EDC check, or does it come through the City of Edinburg check?
No, it comes through the City of Edinburg check, because we have an interlocal with the EDC to actually do the financial management.
Okay, but the money is coming from the EDC budget?
Yes.
Okay.
See, the challenge there is that I don't have a contract with LRGVDC or the EEDC, nor does my contract make them a third-party contributor to the agreement. It's strictly with the City of Edinburg.
So your contract is with the City of Edinburg?
That's correct.
Okay, okay. Well, then if that's the case, then, I mean, regardless of where we get the money from to pay him, he has a contractual obligation with the City of Edinburg. So,
I'll look into it.
Please.
Yes, sir.
Please. And so, what are the consequences of the contractor in the contract? What's stipulated in the contract? What are the consequences for him that since he's not fulfilling his obligation in terms of completion? What is it? What's the or what are the
As of the last approved contract time extension by Edinburg City Council, which is, I believe, November 15th of 2018, every day thereafter, the contractor is subject to liquidated damages to the City of Edinburg for the expenses, both of their consultants and city expenses, and the inability to occupy that building.
So his contract substantial completion date is November 15th, 2018?
That's correct.
So a year and two months, basically.
That's what we're approaching, yes.
He's behind schedule.
Yeah, and back then, when he was provided that contract extension, you could probably go back to city records, and he committed to finishing by January or maybe February of 2019.
A year later.
Correct.
Well, again, fellow council members, I implore you all to look at, setting, I don't want to say setting an example, but just following the contractual details that are in the contract and really hold these guys accountable, because if not, then everybody's going to come in here and just do whatever they want without any consequence. So we got to set a precedence now and let the people, let the the vendors and the contractors know that as long as you do your job and you fulfill your contractual obligation, then we're going to work well with you. But if you don't, there's consequences.
And we provided a detailed recording of all our time as of that date, and then projected to finishing, because we really don't know when they're going to finish, but we know the time effort it's going to take us to evaluate the site, review it with the contractor, review it with the city, review it again for completion, and then final completion. So we projected some time in there, and then we recorded all the time that we've dedicated to the project during those past 14 months. We didn't ask for the amount that's in the contract between the city and the contractor, that they are going to be providing damages to the city of several $100s a day. That's not what we did. We're just asking for the time that we've spent on the project.
And this contract that we have with Davila, it's not an AIA form, right?
No, it's a City of Edinburg unique form.
And these are the one thing, this is one of the reasons why I advocated from the time I came on board to change our contract to an AIA form, because we have more, what's the word I'm looking for, Counselor? We have more authority to go after, or not to go after, but to bind that contractor to do what he was contracted to do, versus that contract that we have, because it's how many pages? 3, 4 pages, 5 pages?
I don't remember, but it's like
and the AIA's
a few teams.
200 and some pages.
Depending on the extras you tag on.
Right.
So,
and the general conditions.
That's right.
Right.
Mr. Rodriguez, there are both the AIA and then the engineers also have a very similar nature. There's multiple different contract types that are addressed by legal people, contractors, owners, municipal representatives, et cetera, that come to an agreement on what these should be nationally, but then they need to be made specific for each state and for each municipality, what have you. That involves legal counsel, interpreting Texas law, et cetera, and how that would apply to an AIA or an engineer's contract. So even though they're great templates, they still have to be modified.
Is that it?
So I would like to make a motion to pay Negrete Colar their $48,000 payment that they've been waiting for.
Mr. Ochoa, I have a question, and I just don't want to get hit with any conflicts. Mr. Enriquez was a competitor on this bid, and he actually bid before he was on the council. Since he bid on this particular job, and he's familiar with the job, is there any issues with him continuing to, I just don't want to make it look like a personal deal. I'm sure we know that we're going to end up in some type of lawsuit here with this company. I just don't want something to come out where the other company is talking about, well, Mr. Enriquez also bid on the same job, and then there's issues, because that becomes like a competitor that got the job over the other company. And I'm telling you, I assure you, I know where we're going with this. We're probably going to end up in a lawsuit, and I think that the job was not completed on time, and there's been nothing but complaints on this building. It should have been done years ago.
Okay, so if I could just address it, I think there's kind of 2 points. The first is the motion is limited to payment to the architect, is that right?
Right.
Not about anything related to the contract?
Liquidating damages or any breach of contract, no.
Okay. So Texas law has very specific guidance on what constitutes a conflict of interest and when that requires abstention by an elected official from voting. And it basically falls into very explicit categories. One of those is based off of relationship, family, the marriage, those kinds of things, consanguinity. Another, though, is financial interest. So if there is a direct financial interest, if it can be said that there is some kind of a financial gain from the action being taken, that could influence potentially a decision that there's a conflict of interest. Based off of what I know now, I don't interpret this to be a conflict of interest.
Yeah, I'm just trying to make sure that we don't get any problems in the future, that this is not brought up later in court. Okay. So what,
I'd like to
as-
second it if we can move forward.
okay, as far as the 48,000 here, are we actually, is that an action item? This is just a presentation by them, and it says possible action, but does that have to do with any form of payment?
Well, the agenda item is broad, allowing for action on the transit terminal.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign, that motion carries. Up next, we have consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve all items A through F.
We have a motion.
With the exception of C.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign, that motion carries. C, we have consider authorizing the city manager to execute a golf program agreement between the city of Edinburg and the Edinburg Consolidated Independent School District for the use of the Ebony Golf Courses and Los Lagos.
Second.
Yes, sir.
He's over there.
Hey, Tony?
Good evening, Mayor and Councilman.
And I was noticing in your item here, this is for a 4-year contract.
Yes, sir. I think they were revised, and I think they came up with a 4-year contract.
Previous
Before
was
that,
three?
it was 3 years. But it's a rotating, I think, after the third year, or the first year, you just get an extra year on that extension.
Past 3 years, going on to the next 4 years, are we planning to pay the same as in the past?
Yes, you're talking about the amount that they were paying?
Yes. Is it the same
The
as
amount that they're paying is $12,000 per year for the
Both.
facility.
for both?
Yes,
Both.
for the golf course. If you want
They
to.
paid last year.
We have 2,400 is for Ebony and 9,600 is for Los Lagos.
Last year?
That was the same thing.
Year before that?
It was 9,000 before that. It went up to 12,000, and for this 3 years, we still have the 12,000 implemented on that, but it extended 1 more year.
Contract we have here, it's 12,000 for the next 4 years, so you get
Correct, 12,000, 12,000, 12,000.
half more, and golf balls will probably go up.
Equipment, golf balls are always, changing prices every year. When we started this program, golf balls were about $3.50 a dozen. They're up to $5.50, and I expect it to go up again to about $6 a dozen. We buy in bulks, every year in bulk, so if 500 dozen per I want to say about 500 dozen twice a year. So it's about, basically about $5,000 to $6,000 worth of golf balls a year that we buy.
You feel that this contract with no accounting for inflation or anything else is changes to us? I mean, we don't need to overburden the school district. I'm not trying to do that, but I'd like to break even.
Well,
Everything else is
after the
going up for
fourth
us.
year, sir, I think after the fourth year, we can always come back and negotiate as prices go up. My survey that I've done with other golf courses, we are probably the lowest on that. I'll give you an example. Donna has 2 schools, and they pay $7,500 apiece. So it's $15,000 for two schools that go to Terra Santa, and they're paying $12,000. Per 4 schools, and actually more, 7 middle schools. So there's a big amount of students, golfers that are coming out, and that's what we try to do, is try to give them that service by coordinating with them how to use the putting green, the driving range, and the golf course, so that will not be all together at one time.
Or we can just ask the member, city manager to execute or execute? Oh, yeah. I mean, if you want to amend it to a shorter period of time, I'd be happy, unless we can ask the city manager. It's not negotiable, right?
Historically, we've worked with the district on the price.
City
similar
Manager.
to what we do with the swimming pool.
Pardon me?
Historically, we've worked with the school district on this price. Similarly to what we do with the swimming pool, they use the swimming pool as far as the use and the heating of the pool. Council wants us to look at it again as far as maybe having an inflationary cost added to this per year. We can look at that, or we can bring it back up to the second year to see what we're paying.
I'm game for, personally, I'm game for either, we go back to maybe a shorter term contract, which is 2 years, or you want to do the 4-year, we got to have something, a couple $100 more a year each time. It doesn't have to be overburdening, but we shouldn't be absorbing the cost of the lost equipment as the inflation goes. I mean, it doesn't have to be an order. I'm not looking extra 15,000 from them or something like that, but a few $100 is probably to save us. Everybody wants to go on it.
Okay. I have a question. If we could look into the contract real quick. Part of the contract, it says weekend play, Saturday, Sunday, and holidays. So the students are aware that during the school year, during the time that this contract is started from May, or from August to May,
correct.
they're able to use
The
free of
facilities.
charge the facility
Right. Now,
on the weekends and on holidays.
only on weekends, holidays, no. Or on the city holidays, or if we're closed, they cannot use the golf course itself.
Well, no, not when we're closed, but like holidays that we're open.
closed
Because
basically too, but they're closed more than that. So
right.
you have to have the coaches supervising the golfers out there. And if they're not doing that, then they cannot go out there and participate or do anything, play, until the coaches are there with them. And most coaches are not going to go out there on a holiday to work, So
Right.
it's a simple contract. It benefits the kids to have them out there learning the game. It's a plus. I'm not trying to say that we need more money right now. We'll do what we have to operate it, but we got to continue some way to up, that level of that price a little higher. Maybe, like I said, every 2 years to look at it and maybe do something. The cost of the maintenance of the golf course, I got to have at least 4 people out there constantly working on the range itself. And then we have to have 1 or 2 picking up range balls every afternoon for 8 months, that they're going to be there, or 7, and that's time consuming, So a lot of times we run out of golf balls that we have to rush out there, pick them up, so our paying customers that get there can have access to some balls.
Right. Okay, but my question has to do with the weekend play and the holiday play. So
Okay.
in the contract, it doesn't stipulate there that they have to be supervised by a coach during the holidays. And
Correct.
Let me finish, please. So let's say spring break, they're off spring break. They're 2 weeks off of Christmas. City's still operating some of those days. So my question is, are they allowed, without having to pay, are they allowed to play on the course?
No.
They're not, but because
They do have a junior fee that we charge, something like $8 to $10 for them to go play.
Okay, so
What I see in the contract, it seems now that they want, with a phone call, calling in for tee times for the weekends. And what the problem that I have is, that's our busiest days, and I don't need the players or calling in and say, hey, I've got 5 students that want to go out there at 9 o'clock in the morning on Saturday morning and take that tee time where I can make $40 a player at 5, so, looking at $200.
right, but how's that going to impact those? I mean, you just put the other
talking
5
Monday
at
to Friday.
9:15, teeing
Yeah.
off at 9:15.
Yeah,
I mean,
Monday to Friday, I've got no problem with that. If in the weekends is our busiest times, and if we're going to have tea times given out to students in the mornings, it's going to be difficult. A lot of times when I talk to the coaches, I tell them, come out after 1 o'clock in the afternoon when it slows down, and we will take care of those, students out there.
Okay, so is the contract that we have here in our agenda, is that the current contract we have with the school district?
It is not the current contract, right? This is a new contract.
But how's it a new contract if it states here that year one is August 2018 to 2019, second year is August 19 to May 20, year three is August 2020 through May 21st, year four is 2021 to 2022. How is this?
It's a current contract.
It catches a gap year where there was no contract between the city and the school district, which was 2018, 2019.
Okay, so we didn't, okay. So again, my question comes down to what's written here. It doesn't say that they have to have supervision, okay, on this. That's one. Two, the other question I have is the driving range at Los Lagos Golf Course. It doesn't specifically state that holidays are part of them being allowed to use the driving range. So I would like that to be included in there, because in the holidays they should be able to use the driving range if they want, especially if they're students that are participating at the high schools, right?
Correct.
So I just don't see why there's an issue with them playing on weekends and holidays if there are students.
No, I don't have no problem with that. The only thing is making sure when they come out, it'll be in a later afternoon for them, that window from 1 o'clock maybe to 4 o'clock. Because if we come in the mornings, like I said, we have a lot of play in the mornings. And to get a FISM, like it says here, to go in with a tea time, calling for tea time, it's just going to take 5 paying customers for that slot. You know what I'm trying to say?
But can't we just move them over 15 minutes to start 15 minutes later?
If I have the tea times blocked from 7 o'clock in the morning to 11 or 11:30, after that, we can get those students in there. That's what we try to tell them. Come after 11, 1 o'clock, and the course is open for you guys. But if I put them in the middle where they're playing, and they're all walkers, they're not allowed to ride. So slow play comes into play. Everybody calling in, I got 5 kids out here hitting the ball, left and right, but we adjust. We go out there and we let them know, to go ahead and, let the golf etiquette, let the golfers that are riding to go by,
Tony, this is specifically for the people that are in the school program. In other words, they have supervision. They have a golf coach. They're represented in a high school or a junior high.
Correct.
They call you, then they set up an appointment, then they come and use. I guess what we're talking about is 2 other things. Recreational would be another one that, they're off, they want to hit some balls during their off time or play a game. Then they have to go through the other side, right? They're not involved in the school.
Right. So what we do with that, sir, is very easily, when they call in, we try to see where we can fit them in. 90% of the time is going to be after 12 o'clock or 11 or 12 o'clock as the course is open. And they can come earlier, and we'll let them hit a bucket of balls. Or they'll go chip and putt until we can get them on the golf course. But if I get, it says 2 tee times, that's 10 players that can probably go out there and take a tee time at 8 o'clock, 8:15, and then I got players all around them while they're walking. My concern is just to move them up. If they want to call me or call the staff and get a tee time anytime after that. Let they have it for 5 days already, and then we're going to come in on the weekends and, and the local player that can't play during Monday through Friday wants to go out there Saturday morning and get a tee time and play their game and then go home with the family. And if we're going to have the high school kids taking those good tee times, then I'll have the calls coming in, but I'll take care of it. If that's what it is, we'll give them tee times in the morning, and we'll take care of it by letting them know that they got to let the faster players on golf carts to go through. That's one option.
Okay, so then I think I think that needs to be stipulated in there, that you can only use the facility on holidays and weekends from 1 to 5, or whatever that time frame is, that time range. But you do realize that when it's summer, or not summer, I should say fall, winter, and spring,
Right.
it's 100 degrees out there, and but the students are the ones that are going to be playing in the heat, right? Versus the adults, because the adults want to go when it's cooler, because it's a lot harder for them, right? It's a lot hotter, so they don't want to play. They don't want to play in the afternoon. They want to play as early as possible.
Right.
Right. So basically, we're telling our students, you know what? We're going to move you in the afternoon. You're going to have to play in the hot weather, right?
Correct.
Okay.
What we do have is, a lot of the students, kids, they come out, and when they see that it's too hot, they'll walk off the course.
Exactly.
They'll just walk off
So
the course and go
when do
chip
they
or
get
putt.
when do they get playing time?
This is only during, I'm going to say, the spring or the summer. But the summer, it doesn't involve them, because we've got the summer program. They can get involved in that.
Right.
But during the August.
But in the
and-
Summer, Mr. Garcia, they have to pay.
Yes,
If the students have to pay.
they have to pay.
I'm only talking about during the year. Those 2 weeks that they're off in Christmas, that week that they're off in spring break.
They
So
go
it's
out
not
there-
like it's gonna impact us financially that much, because it's just those weeks when the holiday is on. Maybe just have them play in the mornings during the week or whatever, but on weekends you do the 1 through 4 or 1 through 5 or whatever.
Right.
But I think you're going to deter a lot of these kids from going out to play in the holidays, because they don't want to have to play when it's 100 degrees out there.
Correct.
And
They will
that's
not do that.
And that's the complaints that I've been receiving for the last 6 months, that they don't even know when they can go out and play, and
Counselor,
so.
can we add those holidays to the contract?
We can.
Does it have to be made in a motion?
Those can be added, so I guess my suggestion, if you do want to do that, is you can do one of two things. You can either, the maker of the motion can withdraw, and then you can make a new motion that includes all the terms you want added. Or you can make a more general motion that allows the city manager to negotiate and enter into a contract, and leave it up to the city manager to finalize those terms.
Before I withdraw my motion, I just want to say, just vital here, if we start doing stuff like that, dealing with inflation of cost of stuff going up over the years, we do a lot of stuff with the school district. They use our pool, I'm sure the chemicals prices go up, right, Coach, yearly. We don't want to be adjusting stuff like that. It just starts a whole bunch of other stuff. But that being said, I'll go ahead and withdraw my motion.
Well, I have another question on the contract, real quick, Richard.
Okay.
So before that, we either keep the current motion or we make a new motion
Oh, okay.
to continue discussion.
Okay.
Make a motion to authorize the city manager to negotiate the contract
Second.
and enter into the agreement.
Second.
Okay.
So my next question on the contract is the storage. It says here that in the event the school district should require the use of a storage facility, do we currently have an area for them to store like their golf clubs, so they don't have to be hauling the clubs?
There's one area in the cart barn that we have that the Bobcats utilize that. And then we have lockers against the wall of the back of the east wall of the barn. Those lockers there were furnished by the schools. What they need to do is the students, because they rotate every week, so when they rotate, the student takes the lock and takes it with them to the Monte Cristo. The school that comes back in has a lock, and they can go in and store it in that locker there. So it's a rotating thing. There's about 20 lockers there, that the students can use. They only have to bring in it's a lock, a combination lock. And they can go in there when it's their turn to get there, find up the locker, put their golf back in there, and lock it up, and they'll be there for 1 week. And then they'll take the lock and go, rotate to the other golf courses.
So is it equitable with all the high schools, the
Oh,
storage?
yeah. Well, I have, like I said, the Bobcats has an area that have about 18 bags in there, And then we got about 20, you know, on the other side, on the lockers. So if whoever gets, it's a first come, first serve. This is something the school district, you know, donated those for them. A lot of them might have right in front of the locker, they'll put their golf bags there. And that's where they have them there for a whole week, or they'll take it home on a daily basis.
Okay, so not all 4 high schools have the same lockers, or the same number of lockers, or the to store their equipment.
Correct. In other words, say that North has 28 players. 20 players are able to keep their lockers, you know, their clubs there. The other 8, either they leave them in front of those lockers, or they take them home, and they bring them on a daily basis, you know, that way. But like I said, we don't have enough lockers at all for all 28 players.
Okay, all right, appreciate it, thank you.
Okay, we had a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign, that motion carries. We're going down to bids, contractuals. Consider approval of change order number 1 for RFP 2019-12 South Central Original Townside Drainage Improvements, adding 102 calendar days to RG Enterprises LLC, DBA G&G Contractors, at no additional cost to the contract. I'll entertain a motion on this item.
To approve.
We have a motion. I will second. And any discussion?
Yes, I have some
Mr. Enriquez?
comments
Yeah.
and questions. So, I see that they're requesting 41 rain and mud days, but I don't see any weather reports for those days requested.
Can I get the... Good evening, Mayor, City Council. We do have Mr. Mario Reina with Meldon and Hunt on this project. The reports have been received by Meldon and Hunt, and to have that breakdown. But they have been talking with us and letting us know that they're having so many weather days as we've been moving on the project. We have had utility conflicts, which are also included as part of the days that are added. But I'll let Mr. Reina expand on that.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Mario Reina with Meldon Hunt, for the record, project engineer. So on a monthly basis, we do review the weather days that are requested. And so we basically review them in our monthly meetings. I have an inspector who's on site daily. And so I check with my inspector to verify the days that have been requested. And that's the way we've gone, documenting it and approving it throughout the project.
So you have documentation to show that every month they requested the days in March, April, May, June, July, August, October, and November?
I won't say that it was submitted on a timely manner when the project first started, but after I did a presentation to this body, I put the contractor on check and said, hey, they asked about this. I told them I wasn't getting documents on a timely manner, and they have done so as of recent. Yes, sir.
Okay, because you realize that the contract stipulates that they have to request these days within 30 days.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so did they request the total 41 days with?
Not 100% of them did they do in the 30 days, but the bulk of them they have done in the 30 days. Yes, sir.
And you're still recommending us to approve that, even though they didn't meet the obligation of the contract?
I am at this time. Yes.
What's that?
I am. Yes, sir.
Okay. So, tell me about these 61 days. How did you determine those days for the work?
So we kind of broke it down into 4 different items. One was rain and wet days. The other was utility adjustments on 16th Avenue. The other was a concrete junction box. And the other one was general utility conflicts. So on the first one, the utility adjustments on 16th Avenue, I think I showed a picture during my presentation at the last meeting. We did a complete reroute of a main city water line here. This was in coordination with the city, and they actually participated in this. So that did take 20 days. They did ask for the days prior to doing the work, and we did approve them. The concrete junction box on 19th, this was for a unknown, unmarked, unidentified irrigation line that actually provides raw water to your water plant downtown. This wasn't spotted, wasn't marked. We didn't know it was there. This took coordination with Irrigation District Number 1 to get a design approved for a conflict box. And then the 21 days for general utility conflicts. This was for general conflicts where the contractor had to stop and hand dig items that weren't marked, mostly gas lines. I think I made a note on my presentation that there was about 9 gas conflicts that had to be relocated. And so every time we hit a gas conflict, he had to stop, wait for Texas Gas to respond and to relocate this. And all this was done at no cost to the city since they weren't spotted correctly.
So there was no stipulation in the bid documents for unforeseen conditions? Like typically, you know, when you know that you don't know what's underneath there, you put a stipulation in there for the contractor to take into account that there's unforeseen conditions and to add that as part of their time when they submit their time.
Somewhat, you know, there's language there that protects us and the city for these kind of situations. But what we also stipulated was that no more than 2 intersections could be closed at a time. So that's really what limited him.
Say that again?
We stipulated in the contract documents that only 2 intersections could be closed at any given time. So he was really confined to a certain workspace at all times.
Right, but every bidder knew that because it was stipulated in your bid documents, correct?
Correct.
So they're going to bid their project based on those stipulations.
Correct.
So if he knew that he was only going to be able to work on 1 block at a time, well then he's going to adjust his time to reflect that, right?
I agree with you somewhat, but you know, when a gas line is spotted, you know, 1 foot from the back of curve and it's actually in the middle of the road, I think that's a fair request for an unforeseen condition.
Okay, so what backup information, you didn't answer my question on the weather reports for the days they requested. What backup information did they provide to make sure that those like how many inches, for instance, he has March 15th rain. Well, how many inches of rain did we receive that day, or did we have that day? Because in the contract, it states, you know, above how many inches in a day are you able to request that rain day?
So basically what he's done is, after the first few months of this contract, he submitted weather request days every 30 days. And prior to the meeting, I would verify it with my inspector. And we go to the meeting, we talk about it, and we'd approve it. But he hasn't provided any other documentation. Just days that it's rained and days that he couldn't work. And he's been very cautious to the general public in this area. If he's working during muddy days, he's just creating a problem for himself and for the city.
Say that again?
If he's working, creating muddy mess everywhere, it's creating a problem for the general residents. So when it's muddy conditions, he wasn't working.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not disputing the mud day. What I'm asking is, what are the documents that he submitted to you so you could make a judgment whether you're going to approve or deny those days? That's what I'm asking. What information did he give you so you can make an informed decision whether to approve or deny the requested days?
Nothing. He would submit just the days that he's requesting and what the reason was for.
So, okay, so Mr. Ochoa, in the AIA document, is this an AIA document?
It is.
It is that's right. It's a form document. It's not an AIA, but it's
the engineering general conditions.
So under the stipulations where they have to request within 30 days, what are the requirements?
In terms of what they have to provide?
Right. What they have to provide.
Right. They have to provide supporting data for the additional time that they're requesting.
Okay. So if they don't,
it's up to the engineer has the first instance to decide whether to accept the days or not.
Okay. So it's up to the engineer to make that determination whether he wants to deny or approve those days.
Under the terms of the contract, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mayor, I have a question.
Yes.
I just want to know when the project's going to be done, because I've come at several meetings even before I got elected, and the last time I remember that January the 15th, even the west side was supposed to be completed, and it hasn't even begun. And we have a major hole there that's just covered by caliche, or however you want to call it, and it's a trouble for not only the business that resides there, but also all the traffic that flows through, and it's a major traffic area that goes through the elementaries that are there in the junior high and everywhere. So it's just, I mean, we just keep on going in circles, and I've come to many of the meetings, and we're not going anywhere with this. I had actually talked to Mr. Hinojosa right before the Christmas holiday, and I understand that we had vacation and things like that, but if I've seen 2 or 3 days with people working there, it's a lot. So I don't see any movement there at all.
Correct. So what we provided at the last meeting was a schedule that was provided to us by the contractor. He's currently paving, he finished paving 15th Street today, I believe, and he's finishing paving Sprague tomorrow. What will be left on the west side, the east side of Clauser will be 12th Street. We encountered a conflict there with some unmarked gas lines again.
Correct, yeah, I remember you saying that, but that was like 6 months ago. The project was supposed to be 6 months only, and here already going over a year.
Well, actually, the lateral on 12th Street was taking place during the Christmas holidays because of the school, and he actually hit a section that had 5 unmarked utilities, and I provided the pictures to Tom and to Marquez. I said, look what we hit here. It was
Correct.
fiber optic communication, so he had to stop. So that's what kind of slowed him down. But he is scheduled to complete this project by the end of the month. We have passed out flyers on the east side of Sprague, and we're going to jump to the east side of Sprague next week. West side, sorry.
I have one real quick comment. So they're using the Etule property for staging.
Yes, sir.
Okay, are they gonna clean it out, level it out, and leave it the way it was before they got it?
Yes, sir. That was stipulated to them in the pre-construction.
And is that gonna
documents.
be, they have to do it within the time that they substantially complete the project? Or are you gonna give them an extension for that?
I would like for everything to be complete during the contract time.
Well,
we will have a bunch.
Is it a yes or is?
It's a yes, yes.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. I'm going to call for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Oh, I'm against. Sorry.
Okay. Okay. Signify by saying aye. 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 Okay, all those opposed?
Aye.
Okay, 4-1. Okay, we're going to go to bids contractuals. Consider authorizing the city manager to negotiate and enter into an agreement with North Alamo Water Supply Corporation for the buyout and transfer of water, CCN, service area for the area described in PUC docket number 48714 map. I will entertain a motion on this item.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Not, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. C, consider rejecting RFP 2019-14, emergency medical services for emergency medical services with mobile intensive care ambulance services for the city of Edinburg. I'll entertain a motion on this item.
I'm going to move to deny rejecting RFP 2019-14.
Okay, we have a motion.
You deny?
So you're approving,
With discussion. So I'm going to move to deny rejecting it with discussion.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a second and a discussion. Mr. Salinas?
Okay, Mr. Snyder. According to our packet here, this was sent out for bid, for request for proposals back in April of 2019, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Sean Snyder, Fire Chief.
And on April 22nd, 2019, you guys opened them up, received 2. And from what I understand, this went before one of our boards. There's
Yes, sir.
2 presentations. What was that board? Just refresh my memory.
Just a history, Sean Snyder, Fire Chief. Now, we did go out for RFPs for emergency medical services in April 2019.
After we received them, I was given direction by previous city manager, that we're going to be setting up a public safety board. And so there was a time frame that occurred that a public safety board was established, got them together, started the process of the public safety board, which includes police, fire, municipal court, and code enforcement. Previous city manager directed me to have the new public safety board do the evaluation of the RFPs, and we did that. It took all the way until we had 4 workshops. We finished in July. We had an agenda item ready for August, first council meeting, and the agenda item was tabled, or not tabled by city council, but it was stopped by previous city management until further notice. So that has been since then up until now.
Okay, so a public safety board was created to evaluate the 2 RFPs, correct?
They were created that was another task assigned. So the public
Assigned to
safety
them.
board was established to meet with the police, fire, the municipal court, the code enforcement, for our interaction with the citizens group and interacting with the good and the bad and what's going on, to have citizen interaction. This RFP process was an additional task request by city manager of the board.
Okay, so the city manager authorized the public safety board to evaluate the 2 RFPs,
Correct.
and they made a recommendation, correct?
They did.
Okay, and then once that recommendation was made by this board, they gave their recommendation to the city manager, and for some reason, it never made it to the agenda.
I had to create the agenda for the city council meeting,
Okay.
and it was parked.
By the city manager?
Yes.
Okay. During the Public Safety Board evaluation, the 4 workshops that they finished in July, up until August when it was supposed to be placed on the agenda, what has, as it reads on my booklet here, it says it has been determined that neither company meets the minimum requirements of the RFP. But
Correct.
in actuality, somebody did.
Correct.
That reason I moved.
So I can,
That's my reasoning for moving to deny, rejecting this proposal. There was a process, and there were steps that were already taken. It was already done. There was already somebody recommended, and now we're considering rejecting this now and starting all over from scratch. Correct? Is that what it's reading here? That's what it's written here to do.
That's right, that's what would happen.
For all those reasons, I'm moving to deny rejecting this bid and moving forward, maybe on the next agenda item, on the next meeting, to put an agenda item to move forward with the recommendation by the Public Safety Board. And Chief, you also I'm sure you had a big say in this recommendation. We didn't just go by the Public Safety Board, right?
when we did the evaluations, I had the public safety board do an evaluation independent. And then we also had our city directors, police chief, fire chief, municipal court clerk, and the representative from the code enforcement, which is planning and zoning, do a separate evaluation matrix as city staff and also as the public safety board. The one that's in your packet here on the city council is the public safety board's recommendation.
When all those other committees and directors met, did they have the same finding? Did they come up with the same recommendation?
The city directors, correct.
Same recommendation as the advisory
Yes.
board?
Correct.
Okay, so my question, you done? You done? Okay, so my question is real straightforward. So you're recommending rejecting based on the companies do not meet the minimum requirements. What are those minimum requirements?
The basis for this recommendation to City Council is that we had, one of the items that minimal requirements is that the companies cannot have, they have to be a company in good findings for 2 years with no, and the words used, any bankruptcy filings. And in the case of both companies, at this particular time now, that is the case. There's no identification of what type of bankruptcy filing or what number, what chapter. It's bankruptcy filing. One identified during the RFP process. The other one occurred after the evaluation and this period of time that we've been waiting to put it on the agenda. But at this particular moment today, we find that both of them have a bankruptcy filing. They might not be the same chapters, but in the RFP process, it does not call for a specific chapter or a specific provision of bankruptcy. It just says bankruptcy filings. So we felt it was best to bring it to City Council and let y'all identify with what you'd like for us to move forward. We have this RFP also, just for information. An RFP is typically in 120 days of in the balance. This one calls for an award to be made 60 to 80 days after both of the RFP companies were identified at the time that we're starting up this public safety board, and if they wouldn't mind to go through this process, they both agreed, which pushed it further, down the road into the calendar. And like I said, in July we made a decision. Public Safety Board made a decision in their diligence, and but then it's been on hold since August is when I had the agenda item ready to go. I have a copy of that here also if you need it, the specific agenda item.
Okay. Yes, sir. Mr.
Chief,
Garcia.
I have a question. If we motion to reject this proposal, how does it affect the safety of the ambulance responding if there's not a contract with neither ambulance service?
So we have a contract with Hidalgo County EMS.
Correct.
At the point in time when the contract comes to an end, which just for everybody's knowledge here, is November of 2018.
Correct.
That is month by month. Both the city as the entity receiving services, the company that's providing the services has a stipulation in the contract that they can void out of that with a 30-day notice, which gives everybody a chance to figure out what you're going to do, which, we have a plan if that's the case on anybody's part.
So at the present time, it's not affecting as far as response or anything like that?
It's been continuing on since November of last year, 2018, not 2019, 2018. We're already past up a year already.
Any more questions?
I do. Hey, Chief, at the time that this bid was opened, were both of them eligible? Were they both deemed properly responsive?
We at the time of the RFP process, Medcare Ambulance Company did come forward at the time of presentation, because we did have a hands-on portion by the advisory board to listen to these companies and be able to present whatever they wanted to. 30-minute window of opportunity on each part. They're all timed. And at that point, they made it known to us that that was the case with their particular filing and the reason for it and justification and where they're going with it. The other was later, way after the process.
Who was that? Who's the first one?
The one that did make it known during the process was Medcare. So we went ahead and continued that process. We checked with...
At that point in time, were they eligible anymore, or were they disqualified by the RFP?
We had taken that to city council or city attorney for consideration. That was during that process.
Okay, but I think when you went out for the RFP, it says something about if you're in bankruptcy or you had a bankruptcy within this period of time.
I wouldn't put it down to the day and the moment and the second, but my professional opinion is, and we can look back on dates, but their issue occurred and the RFP had already been submitted. They made it known
Before
to us.
opening date,
That's
before we
correct. They
opened.
already submitted their stuff, and it had not
the-
occurred.
And the other party that's involved, theirs became after the
Yeah,
opening.
way after we did the evaluations. It's been here in the past
So
couple of
they
months.
didn't have bankruptcy, they weren't in bankruptcy or anything until after the RFP had been opened and
Gone
judged
through the
and all
process. And we're basically on standby until we had direction to move forward with it.
I guess the question I have for the city attorney is, the way I understand the RFP was, you'd be ineligible if you were in bankruptcy at the time that you.
Right.
In other words, if we would have awarded it, if this council would have awarded it on the date it's supposed to award it, he wouldn't, the one that was eligible at the time wouldn't be,
It wouldn't be on the agenda.
he wouldn't be ineligible to work for the city.
That, it's an accurate statement that they would not have met the minimum requirements at that time, had the council acted at the time.
That's MCARE.
The organization that had a bankruptcy filing,
They
when
wouldn't
the
be-
evaluation was made,
So they wouldn't
did not
come-
meet the minimum requirements at that time.
Okay, but the one that opened up and doesn't have a bankruptcy at the time, they would have probably gone through council and passed. Well, they probably would have, it's the only one.
Well, they would have qualified.
They would have qualified. Okay, that's good, thank you.
They would have met the minimum
The
requirements, correct?
And the fact that they filed after, I'm not sure when they filed, that shouldn't affect what they did at that time? Do we have an issue if we affect that? Or are we just better off to go back out and
So,
And-
so now that you asked the question, if we're better off, if you would like, legal advice or legal counsel on this, my suggestion is to take the item into executive session so that I can give my legal advice at that time, and then we can come back out and discuss in the open and take any action you might want to do.
Okay. Thank you.
So the question I have, you tell me if you're able to answer it here in open session or not. But nowhere in the RFP do I see that it stipulates that if you file for bankruptcy, you're automatically disqualified. So,
The specific provision that's being referred to is the minimum proposal requirements, which are on page 15 of the RFP.
right, where it says minimum of 2 years corporate experience without any bankruptcy proceedings or filings.
That's right.
But it doesn't say that you'll be disqualified, and it doesn't say that if you've been in business longer than 2 years and you filed for bankruptcy, doesn't mean that you didn't meet the requirements, because the minimum requirement is 2 years, and if you filed bankruptcy within those 2 years. So if they were in business for 5 years and they claim bankruptcy, does that still apply? Does that?
So to the original question, neither of those two things that you identify are stated in the RFP.
So then would they qualify?
They would not meet the minimum requirements that are listed in the RFP.
Okay.
I can tell you that as a factual matter. Again, if you want the legal effect of that, if you'd like my legal opinion on it, my suggestion would be to take that into executive session.
Okay, so you can't give your legal opinion out here, only back there.
Even the effect of that, I suggest we discuss that in executive session.
Okay, all right. So we have a motion and a second to deny the rejection of the bids. Is that correct, Councilman Salinas? Okay, so would you like to take this to the back or proceed with your motion as is?
Well, I have a motion on the table, but if,
No, I mean, that's why I'm asking. You want to proceed as is, or would you consider taking it back based on what our attorney advised?
Yeah, so that's correct. There's a motion on the table. You can take action on that
Right.
item now. However, if you would like a legal opinion, my suggestion is we talk about it in executive session.
Right,
But
that's
it's
why,
up
that's
to
why
the council.
I'm asking you, Councilman Salinas, if you want to continue with your motion as is, or amend it to,
go ahead, I'll withdraw my motion so we can discuss, and I'll make a motion to discuss this in executive.
I'll second.
There's no need for a motion to do that. We can just take it in executive session.
okay, the motion has been withdrawn by Councilman Salinas, and the second has been withdrawn as well.
And we'll discuss in
And we'll
executive.
discuss it in the back. Bring it out. All right. Okay, so we have The next agenda item is the variance. Letter A, consider variance request to the city's Unified Development Code. Mr. Hinojosa?
Okay.
For what?
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay.
Jesus Sines again, Director of Planning and Zoning.
Hold on, Mr. Sines.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Not a public hearing, right?
No, it's not.
Motion to deny. Motion to deny.
So we have a motion to deny by Councilman White.
This is the one where they don't want to pay the road and they don't want to pay the escrow.
So we have a motion to deny by Councilman White. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second by Councilman. Any discussion? Any discussion? No discussion?
I don't. Unless you want to give a reason why. I mean, hold on, let me get to it.
Want to just,
Yeah, I'll give the variance, consider rejected. Variance,
yeah, number 9A.
okay, and
Number 9A.
just so our public knows why I'm making a motion to deny.
There's a motion
Is this,
to deny.
this,
In a second.
and maybe you can fix me if I'm wrong, but the way I understand this agenda item right now, they're requesting a variance to, not widen the roadway, which is part of the stipulation if you're building, which we have a remedy for that in the city, which is take the funds if you don't want to widen it and put it into escrow. But then the second part of this is telling them they don't want to even pay the escrow. So it's deny.
Commissioner, what you said earlier is exactly correct. That is exactly what they're asking for.
So we have a remedy if somebody can't widen the road right there, it's just to pay the escrow into the account. But we're
That is
asking-
correct.
This party wants neither, to do neither.
That is correct, sir.
That's where I'm motioning to deny. And it's about a $14,460.
That was
Section, we
that was an
will-
estimate provided by staff based on the information that we gathered on
that
calculation of the
The city will
escrow.
eventually probably have
Yeah,
to
to deny all
absorb
three.
when we get out there to do the road.
In
Or
the future,
deny
yes,
two.
sir.
There's only
if
two.
it's-
There's two
That's
items.
correct.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. I know that the applicant is here as well in case council has questions for them, but yes, sir, that's, everything
Just for
is correct.
just for the record, Councilman White, you're denying 1 and 2.
1 and 2.
Okay.
Yeah, Mayor, and as I try to, I'm not sure if you're explaining it. You've got the widening of the road which is required on the new subdivision, which we discussed earlier on the party that's gonna do Doolittle and 2 sides of the road. They have to do it. And then the party, only after it comes up to that, wants to not pay the escrow, which would be his remedy. It could have worked out through P and Z anyways, without even having to come here, probably. I'm not sure. I'd have to learn that.
Mr. Moore, you want to approach the podium and let's explain what you're doing?
Yes, sir. This subdivision is a one-lot subdivision to build one residence, where the property was cut by meets and bounds and not by subdivision, so the owner is required to file a subdivision plat in order to just build one house on a half-acre tract. And so it's not a developer doing a large development. It's just an individual trying to build a house on a property that he already owns.
You represent that individual?
Yes, sir. We're the
Okay.
engineering company.
Okay,
preparing
you're the
subdivision
engineering. All right.
But anyway, so the cost of widening the street would be borne by one person, and that cost would more than likely that money would probably never be used, because this street is not on any of the city's long-term plans or immediate plans to be widened, and there's an existing transmission line immediately on the north side of the highway, which would prevent the widening of it. And also the properties immediately adjacent to this tract were built without being subdivided, and so there are existing houses immediately adjacent to this property that did not have to pay money to widen the street either. It just so happens that they were built before a subdivision plat was required. And so now that this property does have to be subdivided, it seems like an unfair expense for the owner to have to pay for a street that may never be widened just to be able to build a house on a half-acre lot.
How long has he owned the property?
5 years.
5 years?
Yes, I've been trying to pay it off, and I finally did, and now I'm going through this process.
Are you willing to do the escrow, like the councilman requested?
What are the details of that? I'm willing to, yes, I'm willing to work for that. All I'm trying to do, Mayor and Councilman, is I live outside the city limits. I'm trying to move into the city. You know, I live in a flooded area. I'm trying to improve my living for my family. And obviously, I can't afford $14,000. Write the check for $14,000. So I'm willing to work on. I don't know the verbiage on regards to line item number 1 or 2, but I'm willing to work on whatever helps. Obviously, both parties, right? Build the house. Yes, build the house. That's it, sir.
Are we zoned single family here? Okay. This zone single family, or is this?
Single family, sir? Yes, sir.
Okay, we did have a motion and a second.
No, I'll withdraw my motion.
Okay.
Thought it was
Okay, the
Move to
motion.
approve.
We have a motion to approve.
Second.
And a second. Any discussion? Okay, I'm gonna call for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Congratulations on your new home. Hopefully you get it built.
God bless you. Thank you.
Yes.
Register to vote.
Okay, we've already done the ordinances, A and B. We're going to 11, appointments. Discuss and consider appointments to the city advisory boards. Number 1 is the golf board.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to reappoint Mr. Pete Diaz.
I'll second.
Pete Diaz, a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Number 2, All-America City 10K board.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to reappoint Ms. Shelley Duffy, reappoint Ms. Dina Dominguez, and reappoint Ms. Angie Rivera. Ms. Yoli Peña, who is absenteeism, I'd like to replace her with Ms. Erin Sutton.
We have a motion. I'll second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
That motion doesn't pass, so that's 2-3. Any recommendations?
I'd like to just motion to table it, if we can.
Motion to table in a sec? Okay. Just for discussion purposes, since we do have a motion and a second, we do this every year. The group that's being recommended by Councilman Salinas has been doing it the past 2 years, and they've been working really well with Mr. Chavana, who the run is run after, so the run's gonna be in a couple of
Weeks.
so.
Correct.
So we have a motion and a second to table. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Number 3, Development Council Board.
Move to appoint Mr. Jesse Peña, resignation.
I'll second. Any discussion? And if not, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Same sign. That motion carries. 1, 2, 3. Next, we have executive session. I'll entertain a motion to go in executive session.
I'll second.
I need a motion. Motion, okay, and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Time is 9:04 p.m. We're going into closed door executive session. The record show that no action was taken in executive session. The time is 10:26 p.m. I'll entertain a motion to reconvene into the open. So moved. Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. We have some action items to cover, bids, contractuals. We're going to go to consider rejecting RFP 2019-14, emergency medical services for emergency medical services with mobile intensive care ambulance for the city of Edinburg. I will entertain a motion.
Move to deny rejecting RFP 2019-14.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We have next item of business, Counselor.
Just for the record, the items that are posted on the agenda were discussed during executive session. No action was taken, and none is required at this time.
Excuse me. Okay. I will entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved. Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries.
This concludes the regularly scheduled Edinburg City Council meeting. The council meets every first and third Tuesday of each month. Meetings are held at 6 p.m. in the City Council chambers at Edinburg City Hall. Special meetings are called as needed. You're watching the Edinburg Cable Network.